Chapter 926. Senior 9 if you take over Ling Zhao's body, can you let us go? We can swear an oath to the heavenly Tao that we will never reveal what happened today. You can even choose to erase our memories. Chu Jian said as he looked at Supreme 9 tentatively. This was what everyone was most worried about. Everyone was naturally happy that Supreme 9 chose to take over Ling Zhao's body, but they were also worried that Supreme 9 would kill them directly. Let you go? What do you think? Supreme 9 said with a smile that was not a smile. Senior 9 I know you are powerful. But if so many of us die here at the same time, the 10 Hall Kings will definitely suspect that you can't deal with the 10 Hall Kings since you have just taken over their bodies, right? I hope you can reconsider. Chu Jian's expression was a little ugly, but he still tried his best to say, 10 Hall Kings? What's that? Supreme 9 said indifferently, Don't worry. I won't let you feel pain. In order to repay you for freeing me, I will let you merge into the Taiyin blood god flags and conquer the world with me in the future. Supreme 9's lips curled into a sinister smile. Everyone couldn't help but shudder, and they instantly fell into despair. Although they didn't know what the Taiyin blood god flags were, they were terrified when they thought of the treasure that Supreme 9 didn't hesitate to kill 3 billion lives to refine. Buzz. A light flashed in Supreme 9's hand, and Nameless and Supreme Vajra flew toward the Taiyin divine formation. Divine chains of order swept across the sky and imprisoned the two of them. My good great-grandson, don't cry. When I take over Ling Zhao's body, I will let you go. At that time, we will join forces and sweep away the 9 Nether Empire and the 10 Hall Kings, reviving my 9 giant corpse tribe. At that time, I will find 10,000 wives for you, and the heavy responsibility of reproducing my 9 giant corpse tribe will fall on your shoulders. Supreme 9 said to Nameless with a smile. Nameless trembled, but he still lowered his head and said respectfully, Yes, ancestor. Rumble. Under the control of Supreme 9 the divine Taiyin formation shone brightly. Streaks of black mist rose up and enveloped everyone. Supreme 9 walked towards Ling Zhao. Brat, be obedient and become one with me. I will take you with me to the peak, sweep through the heavens, and step into the God realm. Supreme 9's eyes lit up and he instantly pointed at the space between Ling Zhao's eyebrows. I told you you'll regret it. Ling Zhao said calmly without any resistance. At this moment, Supreme 9's primordial spirit had already turned into a stream of light, instantly merging into Ling Zhao's consciousness. However, Supreme 9 was also very cunning and cautious. Only half of his primordial spirit rushed into Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness, leaving the other half and the Godhead outside. Rumble. The primordial spirit of Supreme 9 was emitting a monstrous murderous aura. It appeared in Ling Zhao's mind like a peerless demon god. Within Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness, Ling Zhao's soul had already become extremely dim. Various colored lights intertwined around him, giving off an obscure and mysterious presence. The wordless heavenly book floated in Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness, looking very calm. You're at the second level of the supreme stage, yet you're still alive after suffering such serious injuries? Looks like you really have a big secret. However, after I devour your primordial spirit, your secret will naturally not be a secret anymore. Supreme 9 smiled faintly and instantly pounced towards Ling Zhao's primordial spirit. Boom! At this moment, the wordless heavenly book suddenly moved. A vast and majestic presence spread out, and the wordless heavenly book instantly shone brightly, filling the air with 9-colored divine light. Divine chains of order intertwined, and mysterious runes flickered on them as if they were describing the mysteries of heaven and earth. Supreme 9's expression changed drastically. Facing the wordless heavenly book, he actually felt like an ant looking up at a divine dragon. He couldn't block it at all. Supreme 9 didn't even think and wanted to escape from Ling Zhao's glabella. Since you're here, then stay. Ling Zhao's voice was calm and indifferent as it reverberated in his sea of consciousness. Rumble. The wordless heavenly book was extremely fast. Divine chains of order swept across the sky and instantly swept up Supreme Nine Yin's primordial spirit, pulling it towards the wordless heavenly book. What kind of treasure is this? This is a divine artifact. No, this is even more powerful than a divine artifact. Who exactly are you? Supreme Nine Yin was completely terrified. The power of the wordless heavenly book was 100 times, 1,000 times more terrifying than any divine artifact he had ever seen. He couldn't imagine that there was actually such a terrifying treasure. At the same time, Supreme Nine Yin activated the other half of his primordial spirit's power and instantly unleashed the power of the Godhead, charging towards Ling Xiao. As long as he could kill Ling Xiao first, this treasure would naturally become an ownerless item. At this moment, Supreme Nine Yin no longer thought about taking over Ling Xiao's body. Saving his own life was more important. He finally knew why Ling Xiao was so calm. It turned out that he had such a treasure. Supreme Nine Yin was also glad that he was more cautious and only used half of his primordial spirit's power to take over Ling Xiao's body. Otherwise, he would have really failed miserably today. It's useless, Ling Xiao said indifferently. The wordless heavenly book instantly rushed out from between Ling Xiao's eyebrows and turned into a dazzling vortex. It instantly imprisoned the other half of Supreme Nine Yin's primordial spirit and even the Godhead. Ling Xiao chatted with Supreme Nine Yin earlier. Firstly, it was to understand some things from Supreme Nine Yin. Secondly, it was to stall for time. The power of the wordless heavenly book was very strong, but Ling Xiao wanted to achieve a one-hit kill. Therefore, he didn't hesitate to aggravate his injuries and forcefully use a trace of his primordial spirit's power to launch a fatal attack towards Supreme Nine Yin. Boom! The wordless heavenly book floated above the void and turned into an extremely terrifying devouring vortex. Divine chains of order intertwined and swept up Supreme Nine Yin's primordial spirit and Godhead, wanting to completely refine and devour them. This is impossible. Brat, how can I lose to you? Great Yin Blood God Flag. Supreme Nine Yin roared loudly. A blood-red flag instantly flew up from his primordial spirit, emitting a monstrous blood aura. It was as if heaven and earth had turned into a vast river of blood. This was the Great Yin Blood God Flag that Supreme Nine Yin had refined after killing 3 billion living beings. It was a supreme divine technique and also a peerless treasure that possessed extremely terrifying power. Boom! The Great Yin Blood God Flag suddenly collided with the wordless heavenly book, causing it to tremble violently. Ling Xiao couldn't help but groan. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth, and his face turned pale. Chapter 927. The Great Yin Blood God banners unfurled like a blood-colored river, filling heaven and earth. At the same time, the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves echoed out as millions upon millions of blood-colored gods shot out from the banners to crush Ling Xiao's nascent divinity. However, the wordless heavenly sutra shone with scintillating light, sending out chains of God order that pulsed with the power of magical laws to bind the Great Yin Blood God banners. Apparently, the wordless heavenly sutra was interested in the banners and began to suppress them. Ryumble. Heaven and earth trembled as dazzling godlight shone out. The wordless heavenly sutra emanated a mysterious aura as the chains of God order wrapped around Paragon Nine Yin's nascent divinity and began to consume it. The Great Yin Blood God banners contained incomparably pure blood energy quintessence, and in the blink of an eye, it took the shape of an enormous blood-colored dragon. It was completely enigmatic, as though it were wreathed in flames and had eyes that seemed to contain suns and moons. This was none other than the legendary Torch Dragon, a god-beast created by Paragon Nine Yin's Great Yin Blood God banners, and its aura was terrifying to the extreme. Facing a blood-red dragon, Ling Xiao's body trembled. His blood began to boil, and he actually felt a strong desire. Rumble! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he summoned the King Heaven Devourer Cauldron. A 7-colored dragon appeared, swirling around the cauldron as it lunged toward the blood-colored Torch Dragon. Under the combined pressure of the wordless heavenly sutra and the King Heaven Devourer Cauldron, Paragon 9 Yin felt his nascent divinity slipping away. He couldn't even summon the Great Yin Blood God banners or his godhood. Let me go, brat. I promise I won't try to possess you again. If you don't, I'll activate the power of my godhood and self-detonate. If that happens, both of us will die. Even Paragon 9 Yin's voice was laced with a hint of panic. At Paragon 9 Yin's level, the longer he lived, the more he feared death. Although he had seemed completely confident earlier, that was only because he believed everything was under his control. Now, he realized that not only was he unable to possess Ling Xiao's body, but he even felt like he was about to be killed by Ling Xiao. He immediately began to panic. Self-detonation? Unfortunately, you can't do it. Ling Xiao smiled faintly as a sharp light appeared in his eyes. Under his full power, the wordless heavenly book seemed to form an extremely terrifying chaotic world. It began to furiously devour the sovereign of 9 Yin's soul and the power of the Godhead. And the connection between the Supreme 9 Yin and the Godhead was actually starting to weaken. Rumble. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged in the divine shadow matrix. Around him, black light surged and clouds rose. The power of the divine shadow matrix exploded as if it wanted to crush Ling Xiao into dust. Thankfully, Ling Xiao was protected by the wordless heavenly tome and the King Heaven Devourer cauldron. Bastard! Brat, even if I become a ghost, I won't let you go. Supremacy 9 Yin's eyes revealed an incomparably venomous expression. He had never thought that the connection between his primordial spirit and Godhead would be severed by Ling Xiao. His character was also incomparably decisive. Seeing that he was about to be forcefully refined by Ling Xiao, he might as well directly activate the last trace of his Yuan spirit and self-destruct. Boom! The primordial spirit of the Supreme 9 Yin was directly blown into nothingness. However, the terrifying destructive divine light was completely devoured and refined by the wordless heavenly tome. In front of Ling Xiao, only the divine shadow blood god flag and the Godhead were left. Without the obstruction of the Supreme 9 Yin, the Tai Yin blood god flag instantly turned into a majestic essence of qi and blood that fused into Ling Xiao's body. The Godhead was also devoured by the wordless heavenly tome and turned into a majestic primordial spirit essence that fused into Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. Rumble. Ling Xiao's body was surrounded by golden light and lightning. In his body, streaks of blood like dragons began to madly fuse with the power of the divine shadow blood god flag. A hint of understanding flashed in Ling Xiao's heart. The divine shadow blood god flag was condensed by the torch dragon bloodline of the Supreme 9 Yin. It contained a certain divine ability of the torch dragon and was extremely powerful. Ling Xiao refining the divine shadow blood god flag was equivalent to refining the torch dragon bloodline. A bright light exploded and an ancient and mysterious aura filled Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. Ling Xiao seemed to see a blood-red dragon in the vast chaos. It was a few million miles long and was surrounded by endless flames. Every time it breathed, it would cause countless worlds in the chaos to explode and be reborn. When it opened its eyes, the world fell into eternal light. When it closed its eyes, endless darkness shrouded the chaos. This was the Torch Dragon, the primordial Torch Dragon. According to legend, it controlled darkness and light. It dominated the destruction and rebirth of the world and was a great existence that could compete with the primordial ancestor dragon. As Ling Xiao refined the Torch Dragon bloodline, he comprehended the ancient memories contained in the bloodline and fell into a mysterious state. Due to the death of the Supreme 9 Yin, the divine light in the divine shadow formation was blazing and dazzling. Other than the 9 great sword masters, everyone else was completely turned into ashes. The 9 great sword masters' faces changed drastically. Looking at the destructive divine light storm in front of them, their eyes were filled with shock. They did not know what had happened. John Doe, are you still not thinking of a way at this time? If the Supreme 9 Yin completes the possession, you won't be able to survive. Don't think that he will let you go just because you are his great-great-grandson. He kills without batting an eye. Why would he care about you? Chu Jian's eyes were filled with anxiety as he looked at John Doe. That's right, John Doe. Quickly think of a way to break the divine shadow formation. Otherwise, we will all die. John Doe, as long as you can save us, we will give you whatever you want. Zhuanluan Hong, Duan Changkong and the others quickly said. This time, they originally wanted to obtain the Supreme Nine Yin's inheritance. They did not expect to fall into a trap one after another. Although they hated John Doe to the extreme, they were counting on him to break the divine shadow formation. Therefore, they suppressed the killing intent in their hearts. Pa, you want me to help you? Dream on. The ancestor has taken over Ling Xiao. When the time comes, he will definitely dominate the world. I will follow the ancestor and become the ruler of the reincarnation world. Why would I care about your little benefits? Just wait for your deaths. John Doe said with a cold smile. He naturally did not believe the group in front of him. Although the Supreme Nine Yin had killed many people, he was still John Doe's great-grandfather. At the very least, he was more reliable than the group in front of him. Bastard! Everyone cursed angrily, but there was nothing they could do. I wonder how Ling Xiao is doing. Ling Xiao, you must hang in there. Chu Qianxian's eyes revealed a trace of worry. My good sister, don't worry. Ling Xiao will definitely die. He must have been taken over by the Supreme Nine Yin. I just didn't expect that I, Chu Jian, would die here. I can't accept this. Chu Jian sneered. His eyes were filled with an extremely unreconciled expression. Chapter 928. The 9 great sword masters were imprisoned by the divine Yin formation. Originally, the 9 of them thought that Ling Xiao would definitely die this time. After Supreme Nine Yin took over Ling Xiao's body, it would be their time of death. However, at this moment, the divine Yin formation shone brightly. Black light filled the air and an ominous aura filled the air. The entire divine Yin formation seemed like it would explode at any time. As for the 9 great sword masters, the power of imprisonment actually began to weaken. What's going on? Chu Jian cried out in surprise. His eyes revealed a look of incomparable joy. Could it be that Ling Xiao killed Supreme Nine Yin? Chu Qianxian exclaimed as though she had thought of a possibility. That's impossible. Supreme Nine Yin is a divine spirit expert. How could Ling Xiao kill him? Chuan Lunhong sneered. Ling Xiao said that Supreme Nine Yin was in charge of the divine Yin formation. Now that the power of the divine Yin formation has weakened, it's obvious that no one is in charge of the divine Yin formation. Perhaps Supreme Nine Yin was really killed by Ling Xiao. Song Yu said in surprise. Fools! Wu Ming sneered and said, You are all delusional. Ling Xiao must be dead. As for the weakening power of the divine Yin formation, it must be because my great-grandfather is in the process of taking over Ling Xiao's body. He has no time to continue controlling the divine Yin formation. What John Doe said was also a possibility, and it was a very high possibility. Everyone, let's break the divine Yin formation together. It doesn't matter if Supreme Nine Yin has taken over Ling Xiao's body. As long as we escape and spread the news, Ling Xiao will definitely die when the 10 kings arrive. Chu Jian's eyes flashed with a hint of panic. The divine Yin formation's power was weakening and they could see the hope of escaping. Alright, let's attack together. Duan Changkong, Du Tianhe, Bian Yun and the rest responded. Rumble. Other than John Doe and Vajra Supremacy, the other 7 all made their moves. They used their powerful physical strength to attack the divine shadow formation. The divine Taiyin formation was an ancient divine formation. Originally, they had no way of breaking it. However, as the power of the divine Taiyin formation grew weaker and weaker, their attacks also caused the divine Taiyin formation to tremble violently. It was as if it could break at any time. The 7 experts all had a strong desire to escape. They were attacking the divine Taiyin formation tirelessly. It's useless. Just give up. Even if you break the divine Yin formation, you will still die without a doubt. Wu Ming sneered. He had great confidence in Supreme Nine Yin. It was almost impossible for these people to break through the divine Taiyin formation in the God-sealing domain with their strength alone. However, as the power of the divine Yin formation weakened, Wu Ming's heart began to sink. What he didn't know at all was that Supreme Nine Yin, who was the core of the formation, had already been completely annihilated, and the Godhead and Great Yin Blood God flags were being refined by Ling Xiao. Although the Taiyin divine formation was still very strong without anyone controlling it, it was no longer indestructible and had flaws. Just like this, everyone madly bombarded the great Yin blood god flag for close to a month. The power of the divine Taiyin formation had been weakened to the extreme. Everyone's eyes were filled with excitement and excitement. "Break it!" Chu Jian roared. He threw a punch across the sky and activated the colored glaze immortal body around him. He exploded with a powerful punch and directly hit the last barrier of the divine Yin formation. Kacha! The black divine light exploded and the divine Taiyin formation was completely shattered. Everyone reappeared in the 9 Yin palace. However, at this moment, a black light shrouded Ling Xiao and an incomparably powerful aura was faintly emitted. Everyone could see that the person was Ling Xiao. "Wu Ming, open the door of the 9 Yin palace and we can spare your life. Otherwise, I'll make you wish you were dead." Chuan Luanhong and the others surrounded Wu Ming and Supreme Vajra. Their eyes were filled with blazing killing intent. In order to break the Taiyin divine formation, Chu Jian and the other sword masters were almost exhausted. Furthermore, they had to guard against Nameless and Vajra supremacy. If it weren't for their strong desire to escape, they would have fainted here. However, although the divine Yin formation was broken, the 9 Yin palace was still closed. The 7 experts surrounded Wu Ming and Supreme Vajra and forced them to open the door of the 9 Yin palace. "Don't even think about it, Pa. So what if you broke through the divine Yin formation? When Great-Grandpa wakes up, all of you will die." Wu Ming laughed loudly. His eyes were filled with incomparable coldness. "Catch them!" Murderous intent flashed across Chu Jian's eyes as he pounced towards Wu Ming. "You are courting death. Supreme Vajra, let's attack together and kill them." Wu Ming's eyes were incomparably cold. He didn't dodge and threw a punch at Chu Jian. Although Nameless looked thin and weak, when he punched out, wind and thunder filled the sky. It was as if there were black thunderbolts exploding on Nameless' fist, colliding head-on with Chu Jian's. Boom! Nameless' body trembled, and a resplendent bolt of lightning burst out from his body. However, Chu Jian was actually sent flying dozens of feet by his punch. What? Chu Jian's eyes were filled with disbelief. In order to break through the divine Yin formation, he had used up a lot of his physical strength. However, at this moment, he was using the colored glaze immortal body. It was not something that ordinary people could withstand. Wu Ming's physical body was not much weaker than his. Furthermore, he was controlling a thunderbolt that could destroy everything. Don't think that your physical bodies are strong. The 9 Yin divine body of my 9 Yin tribe can control the 9 Yin divine thunder with unparalleled power. Since you are courting death, even without Great-Grandpa, I can still kill all of you. Wu Ming's expression was ferocious and his eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent. He didn't make a move previously because he was wary of their identities. After all, they were the descendants of the 10 Hall Kings. Perhaps there was a backup plan left behind by the 10 Hall Kings in their primordial spirits. If he forced them into a corner, they might even die together. However, at this moment, the 7 people in front of him wanted to capture Wu Ming and threaten him to open the door of the 9 Yin palace. He was naturally unwilling. "Hee, princes, please come and have a taste of my Vajra divine fist." Supreme Vajra, who looked very simple and honest, revealed a trace of cold, murderous intent in his eyes. He threw out a punch. The fist momentum was vast and powerful. The terrifying physical strength made the punch extremely fast. It broke through the blockade of Zhuanluanhong and Bian Yun and hit their chests directly. Zhuanluanhong and Bian Yun's chests caved in and they spat out a mouthful of blood. Their eyes were filled with horror. Chapter 929. Kill. I'll hold John Doe back. You guys kill Vajra Sovereign. Today either they die or we die. Chu Jian's eyes also revealed a trace of ferocity as he took the lead to pounce on John Doe. Time passed by. Chu Jian was burning with anxiety. Ling Xiao could wake up at any time. When 9 Yin Supreme woke up, they would be dead for sure. Therefore, they had to capture John Doe and Vajra Sovereign and open the 9 Yin Divine Palace to escape. All right. The other 6 people also revealed a trace of determination in their eyes as they charged towards Vajra Sovereign at the same time. "You're courting death." John Doe was furious. He wanted to go and support Vajra Sovereign, but he was firmly held back by Chu Jian. Although Chu Jian's physical body was weakened, the indestructible glass body was still extremely powerful. He did not hesitate to be injured by John Doe to hold John Doe back so that John Doe would not have a chance to support Vajra Sovereign. "Kill him." Chuan Lun Hong, Chu Qianqian, Song Yu, Du Tenhe, Duan Changkong, and Bian Yun also knew that the situation was critical. At this moment, they put down their grudges and began to work together. Rumble. The void trembled, and so did the entire 9 Divine Palace. Behind the 6 of them, the furious Vajra suppressed the heavens and the earth. A huge crimson dragon soared into the sky. Sword light surged and turned into a river of blood. The galaxy trembled, and countless stars swayed. Primordial ferocious beasts roared in all directions. They displayed the most terrifying physical strength, turning into numerous powerful and unparalleled avatars. At the same time, they attacked the Vajra Sovereign. Kill, kill, kill. Vajra supremacy had also gone completely mad. Golden light shone from his body, and his skin exuded a terrifying and unparalleled power. He was like a peerless god of war as he unleashed the unparalleled Vajra divine fist toward the 6 of them. Rumble. 7 figures rapidly collided in the void. Chuan Lun Hong and the other 5 people were all hit by the Vajra divine fist, coughing up blood as they retreated. Vajra Sovereign was also very miserable. He fought until he went crazy, and his body was covered in blood. In the end, Vajra Supremacy's body was almost shattered by the 6 of them. However, Vajra Supremacy was also incomparably terrifying. Do Tianhe, Duan Changkong, and Bian Yun were actually smashed into pieces by him. If their primordial spirits had not escaped quickly, they would have been completely shattered by the Vajra Sovereign. However, in the end, Vajra Supremacy's physical body was shattered by Chu Qianqian and Song Yu's sword pierced through his glabella. His soul was completely scattered. A 9th-level Supreme Stage expert had died in battle. Nameless, Vajra Sovereign is already dead. If you don't want to die, hurry up and open the door of the 9 Divine Palace. Murderous intent filled Chu Jian's eyes as he surrounded Wu Ming with Chuan Lun Hong, Chu Qianqian, and Song Yu. "Pa, you want to kill me? I want all of you to be buried with King Kong." Wu Ming let out a wild laugh as a terrifying murderous aura emanated from his body. His body instantly expanded to a height of 10 feet. Black light rose from his body and streaks of cold lightning energy filled the air. The aura around him had actually increased by 10 times at this moment. "You actually burned the 9 bloodline." Chu Jian's eyes revealed a look of disbelief as he exclaimed. The 9 divine body of the 9 tribe was extremely terrifying and could control the 9 divine thunder. Although Wu Ming burned the 9 bloodline, his physical body could erupt with incomparably terrifying power. However, after the battle, the 9 bloodline would completely disappear and he would suffer a great backlash. In order to kill them, Wu Ming did not hesitate to burn the 9 bloodline. At this moment, Chu Jian felt that Wu Ming was even more terrifying than Ling Xiao. "I'll kill all of you. Great-grandfather will naturally reconstruct the 9 bloodline for me. All of you go to hell." Wu Ming let out a wild roar. His voice was like the roar of an Archean ferocious beast, causing everyone's ears to ring. Wu Ming threw a punch across the sky. The fist print contained monstrous lightning as it blasted towards Chuan Lun Hong's head. This punch was unavoidable and extremely terrifying. Chuan Lun Hong roared and displayed the strongest power of the Vajra body indestructible divine skill. The muscles all over his body swelled as though they were cast in gold. He threw out both his fists. Kacha! Chuan Lun Hong's arms exploded in an instant. Following that, his body, limbs, and head turned into a mist of blood at the same time. Chuan Lun Hong's primordial spirit screamed and teleported away to hide at the side. The first one. Wu Ming's eyes were filled with cruelty. His gaze fell on Song Yu as he threw out another punch. In the 9 Divine Palace, There was simply no way to avoid it. Song Yu came over with a sword in hand. His body was filled with blood and qi, but he was also blasted apart by Wu Ming's punch, leaving only a primordial spirit that fled in panic. The second one. Wu Ming sneered and threw another punch at Chu Jian. Rumble. The fist print was horrifying and the 9-yin divine thunder filled the air. Heaven and earth trembled as though an immemorial divine mountain was pressing down. Chu Jian's face changed drastically. He knew that he would definitely not be able to block this punch. He was most likely going to be blasted apart like Chuan Luanhong and the rest. However, he was unwilling to accept this. The colored glaze immortal body. He had spent countless resources and treasures to condense such a supreme treasure body. As long as the colored glaze immortal body was completed, he would have the strength to contend for the world. How could it be destroyed here? Chu Jian's eyes revealed a trace of ferocity. He suddenly grabbed Chu Qianqian and threw her at Wu Ming. What? Chu Qianqian was completely stunned. She did not expect Chu Jian to be so ruthless in order to survive. He did not hesitate to throw her out to block this punch. Chu Qianqian's eyes revealed a trace of a miserable smile. She could feel the terror of this punch. Perhaps her primordial spirit would be completely blasted apart by this punch. Was she going to die just like that? Chu Qianqian's heart was filled with despair. Buzz. At this moment, a dazzling golden light came across the sky. It contained vast and unparalleled power and instantly blocked in front of Chu Qianqian. It was a sparkling and translucent finger that was surrounded by golden clouds. It was dazzling and flawless. However, it was like a heavenly pillar that blocked Wu Ming's punch and prevented the fist print from moving forward. Chu Qianqian's body trembled and she suddenly turned her head. Behind her, Ling Zhao's white robe was whiter than snow. His white hair fluttered in the wind. His body was slender and powerful. His face was calm and his eyes were extremely bright. His body exuded a vast and powerful aura. He looked like an extraordinary deity. Get lost. Chapter 930. What? Everyone was shocked, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. They were frightened by Ling Zhao's strength, and they were also surprised that Ling Zhao attacked Nameless. Could it be that Ling Zhao was not possessed by Supreme 9-yin? At the thought of this, everyone shuddered. Ling Zhao. Chu Qianqian looked at Ling Zhao, and her voice trembled. Her eyes were filled with surprise and anticipation. That's right, it's me. Ling Zhao smiled faintly. Impossible. It's impossible. How are you still alive? With your strength, you can't resist my great-grandfather's possession. Or you. Nameless eyes were filled with disbelief. He roared as he coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. He did not expect that the first thing Ling Zhao did after waking up was to severely injure him with a finger. The power of his fleshly body, which had been ignited by the 9-yin bloodline, was actually unable to withstand a single finger from Ling Zhao. Nothing is impossible. I'm alive, so Supreme 9-yin is naturally dead. Ling Zhao said calmly. This time, Ling Zhao had almost failed miserably at such an easy task. Supreme 9-yin's remnant soul and that godhood were nothing. They couldn't withstand the power of the wordless heavenly book at all. However, the great Yin blood god flag was very mysterious. It contained the bloodline of the primordial torch dragon and was incomparably powerful. If Supreme 9-yin's remnant soul hadn't chosen to self-destruct in the end, it was hard to say who would have won. However, after killing Supreme 9-yin, Ling Zhao's harvest was also incomparably huge. Ling Zhao's physical body had already reached the realm of true dragon body. Now that he had merged with the bloodline of the primordial torch dragon, it actually raised his true dragon body to the realm of perfection. Furthermore, after Supreme 9-yin's remnant soul and godhead were refined by the wordless heavenly book, they fed back an extremely pure divine soul power, waking Ling Zhao's primordial spirit from its slumber. The godhead was the essence of the law of God and was indestructible. Unfortunately, Ling Zhao did not have time to study it properly before it was swallowed by the wordless heavenly book. Moreover, after devouring the godhead, Ling Zhao felt that the wordless heavenly book was nearing perfection and was about to give birth to a new secret technique. Ling Xiao was filled with anticipation. Now, Ling Xiao's physical body was complete and his primordial spirit was gradually recovering. As long as he entered the underworld's sacred river in the Chujiang region and recovered his divine power, his injuries would be completely healed. Moreover, even though Ling Xiao had only absorbed a little of the Godhead's powerful law energy, he had benefited immensely. Perhaps his cultivation would even improve after he recovered from his injuries. While he was injured, Ling Xiao calmed down and tempered his physical body, comprehending the heaven and earth. The imperfections caused by his rapid advancement in cultivation began to be fixed, and he became more and more perfect. I don't believe it. Ling Xiao, I'll kill you. Wu Ming was shocked and furious at the same time. His eyes revealed a monstrous murderous intent. He slammed his palm toward Ling Xiao, and the terrifying black murderous aura around him exploded. But what surprised everyone was that Nameless actually threw a black pearl at Ling Xiao, then turned around and rushed out of the 9-in Divine Palace. Rumble! The black beads suddenly exploded. In an instant, hundreds of millions of 9-in Divine Thunderbolts burst out. They contained an extremely terrifying destructive power and enveloped Ling Xiao. It turned out that Nameless knew that he was no match for Ling Xiao, and wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to escape. The 9-in Divine Lightning that filled the sky was incomparably terrifying, and contained a terrifying murderous intent. It enveloped Ling Xiao, Chu Qianqian, Chu Jian, and everyone else. Buzz. Light flashed around Ling Xiao, and the King Heaven Devourer cauldron floated above his head, protecting him and Chu Qianqian. Those who had their physical bodies destroyed and were left with only their primordial spirits were not so lucky. The primordial spirits of Duan Changkong, Du Tianhe, Bian Yun, Chuan Luanhong, and Song Yu could not dodge, and were instantly engulfed by the 9-in Divine Lightning. Resplendent light filled the air, and they screamed in agony before exploding with a loud bang. Chu Qianqian's face was incomparably pale, and there was a lingering fear. The primordial spirits of Duan Changkong, Du Tianhe, Bian Yun, Chuan Luanhong, and Song Yu all had powerful defensive measures left behind by the 10 court kings, but they could not withstand the power of the 9-in Divine Lightning. They were instantly destroyed, and their souls dispersed. It's useless. The Supreme 9-in is already dead. You'd better go accompany him. Ling Xiao said indifferently, and there was a glimmer of light in his eyes. He brought Chu Qianqian, and bathed in the divine lightning that filled the sky, and pointed a finger at Nameless back. The finger contained a terrifying power that could penetrate everything, and a cold murderous intent locked onto Nameless. No! Nameless roared, and his eyes were filled with unwillingness. However, the finger had already locked onto him, and Nameless felt helpless. There was no way for him to resist. Boom! His body exploded into a bloody mist, and even his primordial spirit was turned into ashes by the finger. Chu Qianqian looked at Ling Xiao, and her eyes were filled with shock and amazement. Ling Xiao's power had exceeded her imagination. Perhaps even a real titled supreme might not be Ling Xiao's match. Chu Jian staggered, and his body was filled with black lightning. His indestructible glass body was extremely strong, and it withstood the attack of the 9-in Divine Lightning. Although he was severely injured, he managed to survive. Chu Jian. When Chu Qianqian saw Chu Jian, her eyes were filled with coldness. Just now, in order to survive, Chu Jian did not hesitate to use her to block Nameless' attack. If Ling Xiao had not woken up in time, she would have died in Nameless' hands. Qianqian. Chu Jian's face revealed an awkward smile, and at the same time, he looked at Ling Xiao with fear. Ling Xiao's battle prowess was too strong. Even Nameless wasn't a match for him. This caused Chu Jian to feel a strong sense of fear in his heart. Chu Jian, you deserve to die. Chu Qianqian's eyes revealed a cold, murderous intent. Qianqian, I didn't do it on purpose. On account that I'm your elder brother, please spare me. I won't dare to do it again. Chu Jian's body trembled, and he immediately bowed deeply to Chu Qianqian and begged. However, Chu Qianqian did not notice that after he lowered his head, his eyes were filled with a twisted murderous intent. Although Chu Qianqian was furious, Chu Jian was her half-brother after all. If she killed Chu Jian, she would not be able to explain it to King Chujiang. Princess Qianqian, Chu Jian is a coward. He's despicable and shameless. He won't even let his own sister go. I can kill him for you. Ling Xiao said calmly, and there was a sharp glint in his eyes. Chu Qianqian's face revealed a trace of hesitation. Qianqian, I promise that I won't reveal what happened here. I can make a heavenly oath. Chu Jian quickly said when he saw Chu Qianqian's hesitation. However, Chu Jian's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and he suddenly pounced on Chu Qianqian. He was very close to Chu Qianqian. His fingers were like an eagle's claws, and he suddenly grabbed at Chu Qianqian with a ferocious look on his face. Chapter 931. Chu Jian was a sinister person. He wanted to seize the opportunity to capture Chu Qianqian and force Ling Xiao to let him go. Although Chu Qianqian was hesitant, Chu Jian was not used to entrusting his life to others. Hence, he took the risk. Chu Qianqian's eyes also revealed a trace of astonishment. She did not expect that Chu Jian would still want to capture her at this moment. You're courting death. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with killing intent. He had already noticed Chu Jian and would not let him capture Chu Qianqian in front of him. Boom! Ling Xiao punched towards Chu Jian's head. This punch was fierce and contained a terrifying force. It was as if the heavenly emperor had shattered the heavens. Moreover, Ling Xiao's punch was as fast as lightning. Even if Chu Jian could capture Chu Qianqian, Ling Xiao's punch could still smash his head into pieces. Chu Jian's face changed. After witnessing Ling Xiao's terrifying physical strength, he did not dare to take this punch head-on. Swoosh! Chu Jian's figure paused and instantly turned into a series of afterimages, shooting in all directions. Trying to escape? Come here. Ling Xiao punched the sky and a golden fist print covered the sky. In an instant, the afterimages in the sky were smashed into pieces. Then, Ling Xiao's punch landed on Chu Jian's back. Boom! Chu Jian's body reflected light. He tried his best to activate the glass immortal body. The light around his body was extremely bright. However, when Ling Xiao's punch landed, his body instantly exploded. Even Wu Ming, who had ignited his 9-yin bloodline, could not withstand Ling Xiao's finger, let alone Chu Jian. Ling Xiao, Chu Qianqian, if you dare to kill me, my father will not let you off. Both of you will die. Chu Jian's eyes revealed an incomparably ferocious expression as he roared. Chu Jian, you deserve to die. I had already planned to let you off, but you did not repent. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being impolite. Chu Qianqian's eyes revealed a trace of anger. If Ling Xiao did not make a move, she would have been captured by Chu Jian. Buzz! A blood-red light shot out from between Chu Qianqian's eyebrows. It instantly turned into a blood-red boundary, completely enveloping Chu Jian's primordial spirit. Torch Dragon Bloodline? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He could tell that the blood-red barrier was extremely powerful and contained the terrifying bloodline of the Shining Dragon. Chu Qianqian, what are you trying to do? My father's primordial spirit imprint in my primordial spirit. If you dare to kill me, my father will know it. Chu Jian immediately panicked and hurriedly shouted. Don't worry. In my Torch Dragon Blood world, even my father can't sense it. Chu Qianqian said coldly. In an instant, a blood-red baleful qi filled the air within the blood-red boundary. Chu Jian's yuan spirit was actually cut into countless pieces and exploded in an instant. Inside his primordial spirit, a speck of light the size of a grain of rice spread out and was instantly devoured by the blood-colored boundary. Ling Xiao could see that the speck of light should be the primordial spirit imprint left behind by Chu Jianwang. Chu Jian was completely scared out of his wits. In the entire 9-yin Divine Palace, other than Ling Xiao and Chu Qianqian, everyone else was dead. Let's leave this place quickly. So many princes have died here. I'm afraid the 10 hall overlords will come to investigate soon. Ling Xiao and Chu Qianqian discussed. After cleaning up the battlefield, they left the 9-yin secret realm. Not long after they left, a few extremely terrifying strands of spiritual sense broke through the void and arrived. They radiated with monstrous killing intent and fury. However, after searching around, they found nothing. In the end, they left unwillingly. Chuan Lun Hong, Duan Chang Kong, Du Tianhe, Bian Yun, Chu Jian and Song Yu were the descendants of the 10 Hall Overlords. They were extremely talented. The 10 Hall Overlords were enraged that they had died in the 9 Ean's secret realm. The entire reincarnation world also became turbulent. In a mysterious void in the reincarnation world, an ancient and majestic divine mountain floated in the middle of the primordial chaos. Clouds and mist lingered on top of the divine mountain. Ancient trees towered into the sky. Palaces and pavilions stood in great numbers. They emitted a resplendent divine light as if it was the residence of a god. There was an ancient palace at the top of the mountain. There were 4 words engraved with ancient divine runes. Reincarnation Temple. A fat young man who looked like a meatball walked into the Reincarnation Temple. His small eyes rolled around and were filled with craftiness. In the Samsara Temple, a girl in a white dress sat cross-legged on an ancient altar. She had a perfect face, a slender figure, and jade-like skin. She exuded an aura of magnificence. However, her face was pale and she looked haggard. She was shrouded in a mysterious light. She was mysterious and ethereal. Sister, the old man took action personally. But he still failed. The fat young man looked at the young lady in white in front of him. His eyes were gloomy. The girl in white opened her eyes. Her gaze was bright and deep, as if she could see through a person's heart. She quietly looked at the fat young man in front of her without saying a word. Sister, the old man went to the war god Great World through the Netherworld's sacred river and brought Ling Xiao here. However, he was discovered by Yin Jiutian and they fought in the Netherworld's sacred river. The old man was severely injured by Yin Jiutian. In the end, he had to use a secret skill to send Ling Xiao away. Now, we can be sure that Ling Xiao is in the reincarnation world. But we don't know where he is. The fat youth's eyes revealed a trace of worry as he spoke slowly. Yin Jiutian. He has really put in a lot of effort. The white-clothed girl said softly. Her voice was very cold, but it was like a jade bead falling onto a jade plate. It was very clear and pleasant to the ears. Sister, why must you marry Yin Jiutian? Although Yin Jiutian is powerful, among the 10 kings, King Qingguang, King Chujiang and King Songdi are all on your side. We can fight it out with him. The Yin tribe has always been the servants of the Reincarnation Temple. Now that they want to threaten their master, they deserve to die. The fat young man's eyes were filled with anger. If I don't marry him, I'm afraid that everyone in the Reincarnation Temple will die in his hands. In 10,000 years, the Reincarnation Temple has no one in charge. The Yin tribe will take advantage of this opportunity to rise. I'm afraid that even the 10 kings will not be able to control them. The young lady in white sighed. Despicable. Too despicable. However, Yin Jiutian is too powerful. He is much more powerful than an ordinary half-step divine spirit. It's a pity that there are no half-step divine spirits in the Reincarnation Temple. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so arrogant. Sister, we can fight it out with Yin Jiutian after the old man and the others have recovered. Chapter 932. Don't worry. I have my plans. Keep an eye on young Ling Zhao's whereabouts during this period of time. Inform me immediately if anything happens. I still have 3 years. After 3 years, there might still be a chance. The white-robed girl said softly before closing her eyes again. Yes. Sister, I won't let anyone hurt you. The fat youth looked at the white-robed girl with pity in his eyes. Then, he turned around and left the Samsara temple with a determined look in his eyes. Rumble. After the chubby boy left, the 2 doors of the Samsara temple slowly closed. A sigh echoed in the Samsara temple. Young master, where are you? The white-robed girl was Xue Wei. At that moment, Ling Xiao and Chu Qianqian had already left the 9 Yin mystery realm. They used the void teleportation technique and rushed towards Chujiang Royal City. Ling Xiao had thought it through. After recovering his cultivation with the help of the underworld's sacred river in Chujiang Royal City, He would search for Shui Wei's whereabouts in the samsara world and find the way back to the war god Great World. When he thought of the war god Great World and the mysterious war god in the war god hall, Ling Xiao felt a sense of urgency. Among the 3 treasures that he had obtained from the 9-Yin Mystery Palace, the 9-Yin Divine Skill was a Yin-based divine spiritual skill. It was considered an ancient divine skill. It was compatible with the 9-Yin Divine Sword and was obtained by the Supreme 9-Yin from an ancient relic. As for the Illumination Dragon Heavenly Pearl, it was an incomplete divine weapon that contained 3 drops of Illumination Dragon Blood Essence. The Torch Dragon Blood Essence looked like 3 dazzling suns. They shone brightly and the blood chi rose. There seemed to be 3 small dragons swimming in them. It was very mysterious. Chu Qianxian only wanted 1 drop of Torch Dragon Blood Essence. She was extremely excited. If not for Ling Xiao, Chu Qianxian would have died in the 9-Yin Mystery Realm, let alone obtain the Torch Dragon Blood Essence. Ling Xiao estimated that at least 9 drops of Torch Dragon Blood Essence had been infused into the Taiyin Blood God flag that Supreme 9-Yin refined. It also pushed Ling Xiao's physical body to the complete true dragon body. Logically speaking, the Torch Dragon Blood Essence should clash with the true dragon bloodline in Ling Xiao's body. After all, the Torch Dragon and the Ancestral Dragon were 2 great ancient divine beasts. One was Yin and the other was Yang. However, after Ling Xiao refined the Torch Dragon bloodline, it seemed to have made up for the true dragon bloodline in his body. Not only was there no conflict, but it also strengthened his physical body. Princess Qianxian, will Chu Jian's death in the 9-Yin Mystery Realm affect you in any way? Asked Ling Xiao. Chu Qianxian's expression turned slightly solemn at the mention of this issue. However, she chuckled and said, although I've erased Father's soul imprint, Father will definitely suspect me. However, I will explain this matter clearly to Royal Father. Chu Jian wanted to kill me, but he failed and was killed by me. Even Royal Father can't say anything. Ling Xiao nodded and said, King Chu Jiang naturally won't do anything to you, but the other princes have all died in the 9-Yin secret realm. So long as they want to investigate, they'll probably be able to trace it back to you. I've thought about this too. The 10 kings are scheming against each other. Even if they suspect me, they won't dare to do anything to me. I don't need to explain anything to them. However, you have to be careful. I heard that Chuan Luanhong is the Chakravarti king's favorite son. I'm afraid the Chakravarti king won't let this matter rest. You'd better not leave Chujiang royal city so easily. Chu Qianxian's eyes revealed a trace of worry. The Chakravarti king? I got it. Ling Xiao nodded and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. Ling Xiao and Chu Qianxian's speed was extremely fast. They used the Great Void Teleportation technique and arrived at Chujiang Royal City very quickly. Chujiang Royal City was built on a lofty mountain. It was said that during the ancient times, the first King Chujiang used his unparalleled divine power to flatten the mountain peak and build this majestic city. Chujiang Royal City was extremely large, spanning a few thousand miles. There were many palaces in the royal city. The streets were wide and shops could be seen everywhere. It was extremely prosperous. The entire Chujiang Royal City had a population of 90 million. Ling Xiao, follow me back to the Black Dragon Army's encampment later. The Netherworld Sacred River opens once a year. It should open in about a month's time. At that time, I'll bring you into the Netherworld Sacred River to cultivate. Chu Qianxian glanced at Ling Xiao and said, All right, no problem. Ling Xiao nodded and said, Chu Qianxian and Ling Xiao flew into Chujiang Royal City and headed towards the East City. Chujiang Royal City was divided into the East City, West City, South City, North City, and Central City. The Central City was where the Chujiang royal family resided. The Black Dragon Army's encampment was in the East City. That's the Black Dragon Mountain. The million-strong Black Dragon Army is stationed here. Chu Qianxian pointed ahead. There was a huge mountain range that stretched over 1,000 miles. It meandered like a dragon and had a majestic aura. There were many barracks and palaces built in the mountain range. Ling Xiao could even feel that there were many spatial fluctuations in the mountain range. It seemed like the Black Dragon Mountain range wasn't as simple as it looked. There was a huge mini-world hidden within it. Ling Xiao could feel that there were many powerful auras in the Black Dragon Mountain range. The three most powerful auras belonged to the titled Supremes. They must be the three great generals of the Black Dragon Army. Apart from the titled Supreme Martial Artists, there were also dozens of Supreme Martial Artists, most likely the commanders. Chu Qianqian brought Ling Xiao to the front of the Serpent Dragon Palace. Chu Qianqian was the commander of the Black Dragon Army. Her title was the Serpent Dragon Commander. Therefore, her residence was also called the Serpent Dragon Palace. Qianqian, you're finally back. Just as they landed in front of the Serpent Dragon Palace, an extremely passionate voice was heard. A young man in black armor walked over from afar. He looked very handsome and had a powerful aura. His eyes were filled with passion when he looked at Chu Qianqian. Is he Chu Qianqian's suitor? 7th level Supremes. He's about the same as the Iron Blood Commander. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a strange look. Naturally, he could see the affection in the young man's eyes. Zhou Zheng, why are you here? Chu Qianqian said expressionlessly. Her face was cold and unapproachable. Qianqian, I've been waiting for you. Who is he? The young man named Zhou Zheng said with passion. However, when he saw Ling Xiao beside Chu Qianqian, his eyes revealed a trace of darkness and his voice turned cold. He's my friend. If there's nothing else, you can leave first. Chu Qianqian said indifferently and was about to enter the Serpent Dragon Palace with Ling Xiao. Brat, get lost if you know what's good for you. Do you think you can enter the Serpent Dragon Palace? Zhou Zheng stood in front of Ling Xiao and blocked her way. His eyes revealed a trace of coldness and anger. Chu Qianqian's Serpent Dragon Palace was equivalent to Chu Qianqian's boudoir. Zhou Zheng had never entered it before. This brat didn't seem to have any cultivation. He was just a pretty boy. How dare he enter the Serpent Dragon Palace? Chapter 933. Zhou Zheng, what are you trying to do? Ling Xiao is my guest. You don't have to interfere in my affairs. Chu Qianqian's face instantly turned cold. Chu Qianqian stood in front of Zhou Zheng. She was a little nervous. She was not afraid that Zhou Zheng would cause trouble for Ling Xiao, but she was afraid that Ling Xiao would kill Zhou Zheng. Ling Xiao was a troublemaker. Even the Iron Blood Great Commander had been killed by him with a single punch. In the 9-Yin Mystic Realm, even the Supreme 9-Yin Saint could not do anything to him. A mere Zhou Zheng was probably courting death. However, behind Zhou Zheng stood one of the three great generals of the Black Dragon Army, General Earthly Duke. General Earthly Duke was already at the peak of the titled Supreme Realm. He was extremely powerful and was only second to King Chujiang and General Earthly Duke in the entire Chujiang royal city. If Ling Xiao had a conflict with him, it would be a very troublesome matter. Chu Qianqian, the Black Dragon Army forbids outsiders from entering our territory. This kid is obviously not a good person. Don't be fooled by him. Zhou Zheng said with an ugly expression. Zhou Zheng, I'll say it again. You don't have to interfere in my affairs. Now get out. Chu Qianqian's eyes were cold and her heart was filled with annoyance. In the past, Chu Qianqian felt that although Zhou Zheng was a little foppish, he was extremely talented in martial arts. He was already considered a genius to be able to cultivate to such a realm within 200 years. However, compared to Ling Xiao, Zhou Zheng was too far away. Chu Qianqian, you're asking me to get out? Fine. I'll get out. I hope you won't regret it. Zhou Zheng was so angry that he laughed. He looked at Ling Xiao coldly and turned to leave. Chu Qianqian looked at Ling Xiao and realized that although Ling Xiao looked calm, there was a sharp glint in his eyes. She quickly smiled bitterly and said, Ling Xiao, Zhou Zheng's father is General Earthly Duke. He's used to being lawless. I hope you won't lower yourself to his level. Princess Qianqian, I won't offend people if they don't offend me. I'll let it go this time. If he offends me again, don't blame me for being impolite. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Don't worry. I'll warn him. Chu Qianqian laughed bitterly. She was really worried that Ling Xiao would beat Zhou Zheng to death. It seemed like she needed to give Zhou Zheng a warning. There were many servants and maids in the Evil Dragon Palace. Chu Qianqian arranged for Ling Xiao to stay. Ling Xiao, have a good rest. If there's anything, just instruct the servants to do it. I'll go see my father, and I'll let you enter the Yellow Springs sacred river to cultivate in a month. Good. Princess Qianqian, please help yourself. Ling Xiao nodded and said. Chu Qianqian left the Nightmare Dragon Palace and flew towards the central imperial city. This time, Chu Jian had died in the Nine Yin's secret realm, which gave Chu Qianqian a headache. However, what would come, and it all depended on King Chu Jiang's attitude. Ling Xiao circled around the palace of the Hornless Dragon. Chu Qianqian's pretty maid, Little Yu, quickly arrived at the palace of the Hornless Dragon and followed Ling Xiao. Xiao Yu looked mischievous and was very lovable. Moreover, she was extremely talented in martial arts and was already a half-step supreme being. Chu Qianqian asked Little Yu to follow Ling Xiao because she was afraid that Ling Xiao would cause trouble. Little Yu, is there a bigger spiritual potions hall in the Chujiang royal city? I'm going to buy some spiritual potions. Ling Xiao looked at Little Yu and asked. Spiritual potions hall? Young Master Ling, the biggest spiritual potions hall in the Chujiang royal city is called the Fortune Hall. It's in the South City, and it's the most prosperous place in the Chujiang royal city. Many spiritual potions halls and divine weapon halls are there. Little Yu tilted her head and said, Fortune Hall? All right then, take me there to take a look. Ling Xiao nodded and said, All right. Little Yu pondered for a moment and nodded in agreement. Chu Qianqian told Little Yu to try her best to prevent Ling Xiao and Zhou Zheng from getting into a conflict. If they stayed in the Evil Dragon Palace, Zhou Zheng would come looking for trouble. It was better to bring Ling Xiao to the South City and avoid Zhou Zheng. Little Yu brought Ling Xiao to the sky and flew towards the South City. Black Dragon Mountain Range, Xuanwu Palace. Lord Commander, Lady Little Yu brought that kid out of the Evil Dragon Palace. It seems like they're heading towards the South City. A burly man in armor said to Zhou Zheng. South City? I want to see where this kid came from. Let's go to the South City to take a look. Zhou Zheng's eyes revealed a trace of a cold smile. Suddenly, a light flashed on his body and the black armor disappeared. He changed into a brocade robe and held a folding fan in his hand. He looked like an elegant young master as he led a few powerful warriors out of the Xuanwu Palace. The South City of the Chujiang Royal City was extremely huge. It covered a radius of 1,000 miles and was filled with crisscrossing wide streets. It looked neat and clean. On both sides of the streets were huge palaces, pavilions, and various shops. The construction was extremely beautiful. Those who could do business in a place like the Chujiang Royal City where every inch of land was worth an inch of gold were either rich or respectable. Young Master Ling, that's the Fortune Hall. Little Yu pointed at an ancient palace in front of them and said. The palace looked majestic and was actually hundreds of feet tall. It was built with a strange ancient stone and looked magnificent. It was surrounded by mist and multicolored light. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He could feel that there was a powerful array outside the palace. Even a sovereign expert would not be able to break through the array. The Fortune Hall was indeed powerful. Ling Zhao's physical body was now complete. After entering the Yellow Springs sacred river, he would be able to cultivate his divine force again. However, although his primordial spirit had obtained a trace of pure energy from the Godhead, it would still take some time for it to completely recover. This time, Ling Xiao planned to buy some sacred elixirs to refine a cauldron of powerful elixirs to heal his primordial spirit. The waitresses outside the Fortune Pavilion were all beautiful and alluring. Moreover, they all had extraordinary cultivations. They had seen countless people and their eyes were extremely sharp. Although they could not see Ling Zhao's cultivation, Little Yu's aura was extremely strong. Moreover, Ling Zhao's aura was extraordinary. They immediately knew that an important guest had arrived and quickly welcomed Ling Xiao and Little Yu in. Young Master, may I know your name? I am Tong Yuan, the manager of the Fortune Hall. May I know if you want to buy spiritual elixirs or spiritual elixirs? I am willing to serve you. An old man in a black robe with a ruddy complexion and white hair walked towards Ling Xiao. His eyes were extremely deep. Ling Zhao's eyes moved. Although Tong Yuan had concealed his cultivation, Ling Xiao could tell at a glance that Tong Yuan was a sovereign. Moreover, he had reached the third level of the sovereign realm. This Tong Yuan was probably not as simple as a manager. Ling Xiao could tell from the attitude of the people around him. My surname is Ling. I am here to buy some spiritual elixirs. Take a look at these spiritual elixirs. Do you have them here? Ling Xiao said indifferently. A roll of paper that he had prepared earlier floated towards Tong Yuan. Mist spiritual wood, heavenly work vine, yin-yang spiritual spring, ghost king grass. Chapter 934. There were hundreds of spiritual herbs listed by Ling Xiao. 9 of them were supreme divine herbs, and there was even a ghost king herb that was a quasi-divine herb. And there were probably only a few of them in the entire Chujiang royal city. Tong Yuan was also well versed in medicinal knowledge. When he saw the herbs listed by Ling Xiao, his expression changed as he asked, "Young Master Ling, are you planning to refine pills to heal the primordial spirit with these spiritual herbs? You can actually tell? I didn't expect you to be an alchemy supreme. My apologies." Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he felt the unique aura of an alchemist from Tong Yuan's body. He nodded. Is it really a pill to heal the primordial spirit? Tong Yuan was shocked. Although he didn't know what kind of pill Ling Xiao was refining, based on his experience, it was definitely a top-notch supreme pill. Perhaps even he couldn't refine it. Pills that could heal the primordial spirit were priceless treasures that were extremely hard to come by. Especially pill recipes, they were even harder to find. Young Master Ling, are you an alchemist? Tong Yuan suppressed the excitement in his heart and asked after taking a deep breath. Tong Yuan was originally the Fortune Pavilion's chief alchemy supremacy, and he was famous even in the entire Chujiang royal city. He had been in a bad mood recently and coincidentally came down for a walk today. He didn't expect to run into Ling Xiao. Xiaoye had naturally heard of alchemy master Tong Yuan's name, but there were many people with the same name. Xiaoye didn't connect the ordinary old man in front of her with the legendary alchemy master Tong Yuan. I guess so. Can the Fortune Pavilion gather all these spiritual herbs? Ling Xiao asked indifferently. Tong Yuan's heart skipped a beat as he said slowly, Young noble Ling, our Fortune Pavilion can gather most of these elixirs, but only this stalk of ghost king grass is a quasi-divine herb from ancient times. Even our Fortune Pavilion doesn't have it. Ling Xiao nodded, but he was still a little disappointed. The ghost king herb grew in a land of extreme yin and extreme qi. It could become a ghost king divine herb after 100,000 years. It was a true supreme divine herb. Although the ghost king herb that Ling Xiao needed was only a quasi-divine herb, it had to be at least 50,000 years old. He didn't expect the Fortune Pavilion to not have it. Then I'll have to trouble you to give me the rest of the spiritual herbs. Forget about the ghost king grass for now. Ling Xiao said. Young Master Ling, don't worry. Although our Fortune Pavilion doesn't have it, it just so happens that today is the Fortune Pavilion's monthly auction. Someone has deposited an 80,000-year-old ghost king grass at the auction. Would young master like to take a look at it? Tong Yuan said with a smile. 80,000-year-old ghost king grass? All right. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He didn't expect that the old man would actually know the whereabouts of the ghost king grass. Since that was the case, Ling Xiao naturally couldn't miss this auction. Young Master Ling, please follow me. Tong Yuan smiled and brought Ling Xiao to the 8th floor of the Fortune Pavilion. The Fortune Pavilion had a total of 9 floors. The 8th floor was a huge auction hall. The monthly auction of the Fortune Pavilion was held here. Many experts and nobles of the Chujiang royal city would come to participate. Young Master Ling, I will go and prepare the other elixirs. After the auction is over, I will send them to you. Tong Yuan smiled. Many thanks. Ling Xiao said with a nod. After Tong Yuan left, Ling Xiao and Xiao Yu found a place to sit down. More than 1,000 people were already seated on the 8th floor of the auction hall. A glamorous young woman with a cultivation of the half-martial supreme realm was hosting the auction. Friends old and new, we meet again. I'm Su Wan, and I'll be hosting today's auction. There are many precious treasures today, and I believe you won't be disappointed. Alright, let's move on to the first treasure, the beast core of a vigorous bull demon supreme. The beautiful young woman, Su Wan, smiled sweetly at the crowd. With a different kind of charm, she started today's auction. A servant brought out a tray with a black beast core the size of a fist on it. The surface of the beast core was covered in strange runes, emitting a powerful aura. It's indeed the beast core of a vigorous bull demon supreme. Good stuff. If I can refine it, not only will my flesh improve, I might even be able to comprehend the mystical skills of the vigorous bull demon tribe. 10,000 life-death pills. 20,000. 30,000. After the beast core of a vigorous bull demon supreme appeared, it immediately caused a scramble for it. Ling Xiao casually glanced at the crowd and noticed that most of the people in the auction hall were at least at the monarch realm. There were even a few dozen supremes, and all of them had powerful auras. A few of them should be the commanders of the Black Dragon Army. The baleful aura they emitted was very similar to the baleful aura of Commander Tai Shui and Zhou Zheng. As for the beast core of a vigorous bull demon supreme, Ling Xiao didn't care about it after a single glance. Xiao Ye, on the other hand, was incomparably curious and excited. She rarely participated in such an occasion, especially when she saw the treasures appearing in the auction. It was extremely novel and exciting. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He actually saw Zhou Zheng wearing a brocade robe and holding a folding fan. He swaggered in with a few guards. Obviously, Zhou Zheng was a regular here. Soon, the people of the Fortune Pavilion warmly welcomed him and arranged for him to sit at the front. Zhou Zheng also noticed Ling Xiao, and a cold smile appeared in his eyes. He sat down without saying a word. That's Grand Commander Xuanwu? Xiao Yu's eyes widened. Her original intention was to take Ling Xiao away from the Nightmare Dragon Palace and avoid Zhou Zheng, but she never expected that Zhou Zheng would come to the auction as well. Xiao Yu was a little restless. She glanced at Ling Xiao and whispered, "Young Master Ling, why don't we leave first? It's very likely that Grand Commander Xuanwu is here to cause trouble for you." "There's no need to be afraid." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. "How can I leave before I get the Ghost King herb? It's fine if Zhou Zheng behaves himself today, but if he acts recklessly, I'll teach him an unforgettable lesson." Xiao Yu's face instantly turned bitter. "What should I do now? I'm going to fail the task the princess gave me." At this moment, on the 9th floor of the Fortune Pavilion, within an antique room, the fragrance of incense wafted through the air. A white-clothed girl with a pale face sat cross-legged on a bed. Her appearance couldn't be considered as peerless and could only be described as delicate and pretty. However, she had an ethereal aura that was awe-inspiring and inviolable. In front of her was a water mirror that clearly displayed the situation on the 8th floor. Tong Yuan stood respectfully by her side. "Young miss, if I'm not wrong, young Master Ling is buying those spiritual herbs to refine the legendary 9 Revolutions Soul Return Elixir." There was a trace of excitement in Tong Yuan's voice. 9 Revolutions Soul Return Elixir? Although I also feel that this young Master Ling is not simple, he doesn't seem to have any cultivation. Could it be that the person behind him wants to refine the 9 Revolutions Soul Return Elixir? Chapter 935. That should be the case. Miss, if this young Master Ling has a peerless alchemy master who can refine the 9 Revolutions Soul Return Elixir, then there is hope for your primordial spirit to be healed. The 9 Revolutions Soul Return Elixir will definitely heal your primordial spirit completely. Tong Yuan said excitedly. The 9 Revolutions Soul Return Elixir is an ancient elixir. Even if someone can refine it, it must be a priceless treasure. Why would he give it to us so easily? Let's wait for a while. The white-clothed girl said faintly with a hint of sigh in her voice. Miss, your primordial spirit cannot wait any longer. Even if I use all my strength, it can only last for 3 years. After 3 years, even if you get the 9 Revolutions Soul Return Elixir, it will be useless. Tong Yuan said anxiously. Let's wait and see. When this young Master Ling is done with the auction, you can invite him up. I feel a very familiar aura from him. the white-clothed girl said slowly with a trace of surprise in her eyes. Okay. Tong Yuan nodded and looked at the white-clothed girl with pity. Then he turned and left. The auction was still going on intensely. Ling Xiao knew that the Ghost King Herb was one of the 3 treasures in the finale. Therefore, he was not in a hurry. He slowly closed his eyes to rest and waited for the last 3 treasures. The first 100 treasures included powerful divine weapons, spiritual elixirs, precious martial arts techniques, and all kinds of treasures. Ling Xiao did not take a fancy to any of them as they were all bought by others. The life and death elixir was a common elixir in the reincarnation world. Ling Xiao had obtained the storage treasures of the princes in the 9 Ean's secret realm. He had gained a lot. There were tens of millions of life and death elixirs, supreme weapons, supreme elixirs, and other treasures. It should be enough to deal with this auction. Young Master Ling, are there any treasures that you need in the auction? Xiaoye could not help but ask. I only need the Ghost King Herb. The other treasures are useless to me. Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. Xiaoye nodded and continued to look at the treasures in the auction with great interest. The next item to be auctioned is a slave of the Pangu clan. His name is Pangu Yang, and he's 9 years old. He's already at the first level of the monarch realm. If you buy him and train him, he'll become an extremely powerful Pangu warrior. Su Wan said with a smile. Suddenly, a dark golden cage appeared in front of everyone. There were mysterious patterns engraved on the cage. A 10 feet tall man was imprisoned in the cage. He was clad in animal skin, and his muscles were bulging. He was emitting a dark golden light. It seemed as if his body was made of metal. His aura was incomparably terrifying. Although he was called a burly man, his face was clearly that of an 8 or 9-year-old child. However, his body was extraordinarily strong, giving people a strong sense of oppression. Roar! Pangu Yang roared like a wild beast. His eyes were blood-red and extremely ferocious. His eyes were filled with hatred as he stared at the crowd. Everyone, even though Pangu Yang is only 9 years old and is at the first level of the monarch realm, even a 9th-level monarch realm expert would be beaten to death by him. His natural talent is extraordinary, and it's said that he's a direct descendant of the Pangu clan. His starting bid is 1 million life or death pills. Everyone make your bids. Su Wan's voice was filled with bewitchment as she spoke with a smile. 1 million life or death pills was enough to buy a powerful supreme artifact. However, even Pangu Yang's starting bid was 1 million life or death pills. However, no one felt that it was too expensive, and they started bidding madly. 1,500,000 life or death pills. 1,800,000 life or death pills. 2 million life or death pills. Soon, the price rose to 2 million life or death pills, and it was still increasing. The Pangu clan. Ling Zhao's eyes shook. He thought of Pangu Chu. If he hadn't met Pangu Chu in the reincarnation ocean and learned Pangu Chu's reincarnation divine ability, it would have been extremely difficult for him to escape. Pangu Chu's corpse was still in Ling Zhao's longevity ring. However, how did the Pangu clan end up in such a state? How did they become slaves that could be bought and sold? Xiao Yu, how did the Pangu clan become slaves? I heard that the Pangu clan is extremely powerful. Ling Xiao looked at Xiao Yu and asked, Young Master Ling, don't you know about this? The Pangu clan is indeed very powerful, but it is extremely difficult for them to reproduce. It is said that the Pangu clan had less than 10,000 people in their heyday. However, the Pangu clan's physical bodies were extremely strong, comparable to the ancient divine beasts. Every one of them was a peerless expert. However, 10,000 years ago, the Pangu clan somehow offended the 9 Nether Emperor and were condemned by the 9 Nether Emperor. They became the sinners of the entire reincarnation world, and the 9 Nether Emperor captured the experts of the Pangu clan. All these years, I thought that the Pangu clan was extinct. I didn't expect a Pangu clan slave to appear in the Fortune Pavilion. Xiao Yu looked at Ling Xiao in surprise. This wasn't a secret, and almost everyone in the reincarnation world knew about it. Offended the 9 Nether Emperor and became the sinners of the entire reincarnation world? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed with a faint light. It seemed like there were many secrets that he didn't know about. However, he was indebted to Pangu Chu, and naturally, he had to take care of the Pangu clan. It seemed like he had to win this Pangu clan boy. 10 million. Ling Xiao said indifferently. The entire auction hall was shaken, and many people looked at Ling Xiao in shock. The bid had just reached 3 million, but Ling Xiao had offered 10 million life or death elixir, which was 3 times the original bid. This price had already exceeded the mental evaluation of most people. Many people laughed bitterly and gave up. However, considering the rarity of the Pangu clan, some people still chose to continue bidding. 12 million. Brother, this king is lacking a Pangu clan guard. If you can give him to me, this king will thank you. A faint voice sounded. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he saw a young man in a white robe and a jade crown on his head. His face was as fair as jade, and his eyes were shining brightly. His aura was powerful, and there were a few guards behind him. Although his words were polite, there was an unquestionable determination in his voice. Young Master Ling, this is the youngest son of the first prince, Chu Jian Chu Yuan. He has been conferred the title of King Ping Yuan, and he is extremely arrogant and domineering. I think you should give up competing with him. Xiao Yu said to Ling Xiao through telepathy after seeing the young man. Chu Jian's son. Chapter 936. Zhou Jing, who was watching from afar, also had a look of schadenfreude in his eyes. He couldn't wait for Ling Xiao and Chu Yuan to continue fighting. He knew that this little prince's methods were extremely sinister and ruthless. It could be said that he had no taboos at all. Yet, Chu Jian doted on him very much. In the entire Chujiang royal city, he was practically a person with his nose in the air. However, Ling Zhao's cultivation wasn't high. He was only at the 9th level of the monarch realm, and he was only able to raise his cultivation with the help of spirit herbs. 20 million. Ling Xiao calmly bid as if he didn't hear Chu Yuan at all. 20 million life or death pills was a sky-high price, and it far exceeded the price in many people's hearts. There were a few who wanted to continue bidding, but they chose to give up. However, Chu Yuan was displeased, especially when Ling Xiao ignored him. His face instantly turned gloomy. Kid, I'm talking to you. Didn't you hear me? At this moment, Ling Xiao glanced at Chu Yuan and said, Who are you? I don't know you, so why should I give Pangu Yang to you? Everyone's body shook, and they looked at Ling Xiao with admiration. He actually dared to speak to the young prince like that. Was this fellow really unyielding, or was there something wrong with his head? Chu Yuan sneered and said, Good. Very good. Kid, I'll remember you. I'd like to see if you can walk out of the Fortune Pavilion's door after the auction. No one had ever dared to speak to him like that, and this kid actually said that he didn't know him. He simply deserved to die. He thought that Ling Xiao was intentionally humiliating him, and a murderous intent arose in his heart. Kid, you've offended the young prince. I'd like to see how you'll die. Zhou Jing sneered in his heart, and his eyes were filled with schadenfreude. Su Wan also glanced at Ling Xiao with some surprise. She never thought that this white-haired, extremely delicate-looking young man would actually not give Chu Yuan any face. However, she was still a member of the Fortune Pavilion, and she didn't want to meddle in other people's business. She immediately suppressed the thoughts in her heart and smiled. Young master, you bid 20 million life or death pills. Are there any higher bids? 20 million life or death pills was indeed a sky-high price. Su Wan called out 3 times before finally announcing that Pangu Yang belonged to Ling Xiao. Young Master Ling, we're in big trouble now. Chu Yuan is not only Chu Jian's son, his grandfather is also the Heavenly Duke General. You are in trouble now. Xiao Ye said anxiously. Although she knew that Ling Xiao was very strong and had the ability to kill Commander Tai Shui, this was the Chujiang Imperial City. There were many experts here. Not to mention others, even the 3 lords of the Black Dragon Army could easily suppress Ling Xiao. Xiao Ye even felt resentment in her heart. This Ling Xiao was too troublesome. Not only did he offend Zhou Jing, but he also offended Chu Yuan now. The task that Chu Qianqian entrusted to her was completely ruined. It's all right. We'll just deal with whatever comes our way. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, not minding at all. What heavenly Duke General or earthly Duke General? If they really dared to provoke Ling Xiao, it was not as if he had not killed titled supreme martial artists before. As for Chu Yuan, he was merely an ant. Ling Xiao did not take him to heart. After the Pangu Sun, it was time for the 3 supreme treasures. The first was a black ancient sword. It was a broken divine weapon called the Sky Demon Sword. It was extremely sharp and exuded an ancient and powerful fluctuation. In the end, it was bought by a commander of the Black Dragon Army for 23 million life or death pills. The second was a reincarnation golden pill. It was also an ancient divine pill. It was said that it could allow one to comprehend the reincarnation realm and become a supreme martial artist. Chu Yuan had come for this reincarnation golden pill. In the end, it was bought by Chu Yuan for 20 million life or death pills. Many people were giving face to Chu Yuan and did not want to compete with him. Otherwise, the price of this reincarnation golden pill would have at least doubled. The third treasure was the Ghost King grass. The Ghost King grass was a 1-foot-tall grass. It was as black as ink and there were mysterious patterns on its leaves. It looked like the shadow of a ghost king. It exuded a mysterious fluctuation. This Ghost King grass had 8 leaves, which meant that it had 80,000 years of medicinal properties. If it grew 2 more leaves, it would become the Ghost King divine grass. It was a legendary supreme divine medicine. Ghost King grass is a quasi-divine medicine. It can condense a supreme primordial spirit and increase the chances of becoming a supreme martial artist by 50%. If it is refined into a pill, the effect will be even better. The starting price is 10 million life or death pills. Everyone make your bids, Su Wan said with a smile. Although the Ghost King grass was a quasi-divine medicine, its value was not inferior to the reincarnation golden pill. That was why it was auctioned last. As soon as Chu Yuan saw the Ghost King grass, his eyes lit up. 12 million life or death pills. Everyone, I am Chu Yuan. Please give me some face. If I become a supreme martial artist, I will not forget your kindness. Chu Yuan could not wait to bid. He then glanced at the crowd. Although there was a smile on his face, the threat in his voice was very obvious. The others smiled helplessly and chose to give up in the end. It was unwise to become enemies with Chu Yuan for a Ghost King grass. 20 million life or death pills. A faint voice sounded. Everyone was stunned and turned to look at the calm Ling Xiao. It was this kid again. Could it be that this brat came here specifically to go against Chu Yuan? Although a treasure like the Ghost King grass was precious, it was not very useful. Was this kid not afraid that Chu Yuan would kill him? Chu Yuan's expression immediately became extremely ugly. His eyes revealed a trace of cold killing intent. He had just finished speaking, and Ling Xiao had already made a bid. This was simply a slap to his face. It made him feel like he had suffered a great humiliation. Brat, could it be that you really want to die? Chu Yuan looked at Ling Xiao with a cold gaze. This is an auction. The highest bidder gets the treasure. If you are not convinced, you can continue to bid. Don't be like a fly, buzzing and annoying. Ling Xiao said faintly, and a trace of sharpness appeared in his eyes. He did not want to pay attention to Chu Yuan, but it did not mean that he was afraid of him. He was determined to get this Ghost King grass. Very good. I have not met such a person who is not afraid of death for a long time. Do you dare to leave your name? Chu Yuan said coldly. You are not qualified to know my name. Ling Xiao said faintly. The crowd was in an uproar. This kid was simply too arrogant. He did not put Chu Yuan in his eyes at all. Chu Yuan was indeed nothing, but Chu Jian and General Heaven Duke behind him were both powerful figures in Chujiang Royal City. Who dared to provoke them? Chapter 937. Young Prince, this brat is called Ling Xiao. He's an important guest of your aunt, Chu Qianqian. However, he's too arrogant because of Chu Qianqian. Zhou Zhen glanced at Chu Yuan and smiled. My aunt's important guest. Brat, even my aunt doesn't dare to talk to me like that. Who do you think you are? Even if I kill you, my aunt won't say a word. Very well, I'll remember you. Chu Yuan laughed out of anger and looked at Ling Xiao coldly. However, he did not choose to explode immediately. Instead, he sat down. Clearly, the fortune building had a strong background. Even Chu Yuan did not dare to fight in the auction. He could only swallow his anger for now. However, Chu Yuan did not continue to bid. In his opinion, Ling Xiao was already a dead man. When he killed Ling Xiao, he would take away Pangu Yang and the Ghost King Grass. That would save him a lot of life or death pills. In the end, the Ghost King Grass fell into Ling Xiao's hands at the price of 20 million life or death pills. Su Wan was helpless. This Ghost King Grass could be auctioned for at least 30 million life or death pills. However, because of Chu Yuan and Ling Xiao's actions, no one dared to bid. Brat, I'll give face to the fortune building. However, I'd like to see if you can walk out of here alive. Chu Yuan looked at Ling Xiao coldly, then turned around and left with his guards. Zhou Zheng's eyes were filled with schadenfreude. He held his fan and followed Chu Yuan out. Everyone looked at Ling Xiao with sympathy. This brat dared to offend Chu Yuan because of Chu Qianqian. However, how could Chu Qianqian compare to Chu Jian and General Heaven Duke? Ling Xiao was definitely dead. What should we do? What should we do? Young Master Ling, this is bad. Chu Yuan must be waiting for us outside the fortune building. Xiaoye was extremely anxious. What are you afraid of? They can't beat me. Let's go and hand over the treasures. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He did not care at all. When they arrived at the backstage of the auction house, Ling Xiao paid the corresponding life or death pills and received the Ghost King Grass and Pangu Yang from Su Wan. Roar! Pangu Yang bared his teeth at Ling Xiao. His eyes were filled with hatred. However, there were huge chains on his body, and all his strength had been sealed. There was no way he could escape from the cage. Young Master Ling, there is a powerful seal on Pangu Yang's body. This is the jade talisman used to control the seal. You have to be careful. Su Wan reminded. Thank you for your reminder. I would like to ask, was Pangu Yang captured by your fortune pavilion? Ling Xiao asked calmly, a sharp light flashing in his eyes. Pangu Yang was placed here for auction by an esteemed guest, but I can't provide you with the information of that esteemed guest. Su Wan shook her head and smiled apologetically. He thought that Ling Xiao was interested in the slaves of the Pangu clan and wanted to get more of them. Little did he know that Ling Xiao was interested in the guy who captured Pangu Yang. All right, Ling Xiao said indifferently. He then put Pangu Yang and the cage into his longevity ring. Young Master Ling, the other spiritual herbs you need are all here. Please take a look. Tong Yuan walked in and handed Ling Xiao a storage ring as he said with a smile. Greetings, Master Tong. Su Wan looked at Tong Yuan respectfully. At the same time, she was curious. Tong Yuan had a high status, so why was he being so polite to Ling Xiao? That's right. Thank you, Elder Tong. How many life-death pills are there in total? Ling Xiao checked the spiritual herbs in the storage ring carefully and nodded with satisfaction. The spiritual herbs were well preserved and could be said to be of the highest quality. It was evident that Tong Yuan had put in a lot of effort. Let's not talk about this for now. Young Master Ling, our Tower Master would like to meet you. I hope you can agree. Tong Yuan smiled and said with anticipation in his eyes. Tower Master? Do I know your Tower Master? Why does he want to meet me? Ling Xiao was confused. Young Master Ling, our Tower Master has a request. You will know when you meet him. Tong Yuan said. All right. Ling Xiao agreed after thinking for a while. He also wanted to see who was behind the fortune pavilion that even Chu Yuan was afraid of. Ling Xiao asked Xiaoye to wait below while he went up to the 9th floor with Tong Yuan. The Tower Master wants to meet him? How is this possible? Su Wan's entire body trembled as her eyes revealed an extremely shocked expression. She knew a little about the mysterious Tower Master's identity. There were only a handful of people in the entire Chujiang royal city who were qualified to meet him. Who was Ling Xiao? Why would the Tower Master lower himself to meet him? Su Wan's heart was filled with doubts and confusion. On the 9th floor of the Fortune Pavilion, Ling Xiao met the young lady in white in the antique room. Although the white-haired young lady in front of him looked pale and haggard, her face was delicate and pretty. Her figure was tall and slender, and her ethereal temperament carried a certain elegance. Her temperament was even better than Chu Qianqian's. For some reason, Ling Xiao suddenly thought of Shui Wei when he saw the young lady in white. He wondered how that girl was doing. Ling Xiao sighed softly and suppressed the thoughts in his heart. "Young Master Ling, please take a seat," the young lady in white said plainly. Her voice was crisp and pleasant. While Ling Xiao was observing her, she was also observing Ling Xiao. She could see that Ling Xiao was extraordinary, especially his head of white hair. It gave him a sense of vicissitudes and elegance. She could tell at a glance that it was a phenomenon that occurred when one's life source was overused. However, Ling Xiao did not seem to have any cultivation, which surprised the young lady in white. Ling Xiao sat down in front of the young lady in white with a strange look in his eyes. "I think the Tower Master's essence spirit seems to have suffered some kind of irreversible injury. If it is not treated in time, I'm afraid it will take another 2 to 3 years. Ling Xiao did not hide it and said directly. He had already guessed the reason why the young lady in white was looking for him. Tong Yuan probably recognized the 9 Revolutions Soul Return Elixir and wanted to use it to save the young lady in white. Unfortunately, if Ling Xiao's guess was right, the 9 Revolutions Soul Return Elixir could not save the young lady in white's essence spirit. Young Master Ling can see the injury on my essence spirit? Extraordinary indeed. I wonder if young Master Ling thinks that my injury can still be saved? The young lady in white smiled faintly as if she did not take Ling Xiao's words to heart. Tong Yuan, who was standing by the side, was also surprised. He did not expect Ling Xiao to be able to see the injury on the young lady in white's essence spirit at a glance. Moreover, he could accurately estimate the time she had left. He was indeed extraordinary. He could not help but feel excited. The essence spirit is easy to treat, but the Dao injury is difficult to remove. Ling Xiao looked deeply at the young lady in white and said, his gaze was extremely deep as if he could see through the young lady's consciousness and essence spirit. Chapter 938. How can you tell? The white-robed girl stared at Ling Xiao coldly. There was a strange light in her eyes. Many Pill Dao Supremes could tell that the white-robed girl's primordial spirit was injured, but only a few could tell that it was a Dao injury. She didn't expect Ling Xiao to see through it so easily. You have a lunar physique, and your primordial spirit is also a lunar primordial spirit. However, your primordial spirit is constantly losing energy. Moreover, your primordial spirit has been injured by the Great Dao. It's almost irreversible. If I'm not wrong, you must have gotten this injury when you were undergoing the Supremacy Tribulation, right? Ling Xiao said calmly. Ling Xiao could tell that the white-robed girl was already a supremacy and had condensed a supremacy primordial spirit. However, because of her Dao injury, her cultivation had declined to the monarch realm, and it was still declining. According to Ling Xiao's judgment, the white-robed girl must have gotten this injury when she was undergoing the Supremacy Tribulation. Young Master Ling, you have good eyesight. The white-robed girl sighed and said slowly, 3 years ago, when I was undergoing the Supremacy Tribulation, I tried to use the lunar primordial spirit to refine the sun essence soul. However, the heavenly Dao didn't allow it. I was injured by the great Dao, and the energy of my primordial spirit was constantly draining. Even though I used all sorts of precious treasures, I couldn't make up for it. Using the lunar primordial spirit to refine the sun essence soul? You're really audacious. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he said slowly, the lunar primordial spirit is usually used after a supremacy tribulation to absorb the qi of the sun. In the end, the yin and yang would merge, and the supremacy tribulation would reach the complete 10th layer of the supremacy tribulation. However, you want to reach the heavenly Dao in a single step. Naturally, you will be attacked by the heavenly Dao. This is simply going against the heavenly Dao. Although Ling Xiao felt that the white-robed girl was very bold, he also admired her. Using the lunar primordial spirit to refine the sun essence soul, if the primordial spirit was strong enough and accumulated enough energy, it might be possible to reach the heavenly Dao in a single step. However, the chances of that were too small. It was almost impossible to reach the complete 10th layer of the Supremacy Tribulation after one had become a Supremacy Tribulation. Young Master Ling is right. Elder Tong be the supremacy tribulation. He can tell that the elixir you want to refine is the legendary 9 Revolutions soul elixir, which is why I want to meet you. The white-robed Ling's was Ling. As she spoke, she observed Ling Xiao's reaction. She realized that when Ling Xiao heard that Tong Yuan was a supreme alchemist, he still did not have any reaction. His expression was calm, and she could not help but raise her evaluation of Ling Xiao by a few notches. Tower Lord, are you planning to use the 9 Transformations Soul Return Pill to heal your injuries? Masters' Elixir. BBB Elixir. The Dao Dao's. Ling Xiao said slowly. Even the 9 Transformations Soul Return Pill can't cure it. Teat. Tong Yuan said in a serious tone. The 9 Revolutions Soul Elixir was an ancient elixir. Tong Yuan had never seen it before and was not familiar with its properties. He was disappointed when he heard Ling Xiao say that the 9 Revolutions Soul Elixir could not heal the white-robed Ling's Dao injury. I do have a way, Ling Xiao said after a moment of silence. Really? Tong Yuan's eyes revealed a trace of surprise, and even the white-clothed girl's eyes lit up. That's right. The Dao injury of the primordial spirit cannot be healed because the Great Path Order is deeply entangled with the primordial spirit. It is constantly weakening the primordial spirit. My method is to remove the Great Path Order from the primordial spirit. With the help of the 9 Revolutions Soul Elixir, she can be healed. Ling Xiao said slowly. Tong Yuan looked disappointed when he heard Ling Xiao's idea. He smiled bitterly and said, We have thought of the idea you mentioned, but even a demigod can't get rid of the Great Path precepts in the primordial spirit. I'm afraid this idea won't work. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly. Ling Xiao said calmly, Others may not be able to do it, but that doesn't mean I can't. What? Tong Yuan's body trembled as a look of surprise and disbelief appeared in his eyes. I can remove the Great Path Order from the primordial spirit. Ling Xiao said slowly. I wonder what conditions young Master Ling has? The girl in white also took a deep breath, her eyes revealing a trace of anticipation. She didn't know why, but she suddenly believed Ling Xiao. She didn't know where this belief came from. Ling Xiao said he could do something that even a half-step to the primordial spirit couldn't do. If it was anyone else, they would think that Ling Xiao was crazy. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He had already guessed the identity of the white-robed Ling Xiao. It was said that the Fortune Tower was located in all the huge cities in the reincarnation Great World. It was like the precious treasure pavilion in the war god Great World. However, none of the 10 kings dared to touch the Fortune Tower. Even Chu Yuan, who was so arrogant, was afraid of the Fortune Tower. Ling Xiao had already guessed that the owner of the Fortune Tower was the Empire of Abysmal. The white-robed Ling Xiao in front of him had a graceful and noble aura. She must be from the royal family of the Empire of Abysmal. I only have 2 conditions. First, I hope to obtain a chance to cultivate in the Yellow Springs Sacred River's main vein. Ling Xiao looked at the white-robed Ling Xiao and said calmly, Enter the Yellow Springs Sacred River's main vein? All right, I can agree to that. However, the Yellow Springs Sacred River's main vein will open in 2 years. By then, I can think of a way to give you a spot. What's the second condition? The white-robed Ling Xiao looked deeply at him. She felt that Ling Xiao might have guessed her identity. However, her identity wasn't a secret. She wasn't surprised that Ling Xiao could guess it. The second condition is to help me find the whereabouts of a person. Ling Xiao said slowly. Then, with a flash of light, a white jade wall appeared in his hand. Ling Xiao drew in the air in an elegant and confident manner. It was a young girl in white clothes. She looked bright and beautiful, and her face was absolutely beautiful. Moreover, she exuded a delicate temperament, making it hard for people to forget her. Her name is Shuiwei. She is a very important person to me. I hope that you can help me find her whereabouts. Ling Xiao said seriously. Shuiwei? She looks like an obedient and sensible girl. All right, this condition is not a problem. The white-robed Ling Xiao smiled faintly. With the power of the Empire of Abysmal, it might be troublesome to find a person in the entire reincarnation Great World, but it wasn't impossible. Chapter 939. However, I'm afraid that's not possible in a short period of time. I'll send men to search the entire reincarnation world. I'll inform you if there's any news. The girl in white said to Ling Xiao. All right. Words are no guarantee. Let's make a heavenly oath. Ling Xiao said flatly. With the help of the Empire of Nine Nether, these two matters would be much easier. The main stream of the Netherworld's sacred river would definitely be heavily guarded. If not for the help of the imperial family, Ling Xiao would not be able to enter. Moreover, Ling Xiao suspected that the main stream of the Netherworld's sacred river might be connected to the Reincarnation Sea. If he could enter the main stream, he might be able to find the way back to the Wargod world. All right. The girl in white nodded in agreement. Then she made a heavenly oath with Ling Xiao. Buzz. Mysterious lightning flashed in the void, and a faint power of law descended. This meant that the two of them had made a heavenly oath. If that's the case, I'll take my leave. 10 days later, I'll be back to treat your injuries. Ling Xiao said slowly as he turned to leave. Hold on. The girl in white said. Is there anything else? Ling Xiao turned back. The girl in white smiled and said, Young Master Ling, my name is Yin Qingqing. Yin Qingqing? Good name. I'll remember it. Goodbye. Ling Xiao nodded with a smile and turned to leave. Tong Yuan frowned slightly and said, Young mistress, why did you tell him your real name? King Chujiang is very stubborn. He, King Qingguang, and King Songdi are all loyal to the Reincarnation Temple. Even the great emperor has a headache. If King Chujiang knows that you're in Chujiang Royal City, you'll be in trouble. The girl in white smiled faintly and said, This Ling Xiao is interesting. It seems like he really doesn't know my identity. If he can treat me in 10 days, it'll be a surprise. As for King Chujiang, do you really think he doesn't know that I'm here? However, he's resolute and upright. Even if his relationship with the Empire is tense, he won't stoop to my level. Miss, your wisdom is as deep as the sea. Even the princes are no match for you. If you were a man, the Emperor would have already made you the crown prince. Tong Yuan sighed. Yin Qingqing's real identity was Princess Annal of the Nine Nether Empire. She was also the favorite daughter of the Nine Nether Emperor. She was also the Tower Master of the Creation Tower in the Reincarnation world. She had endless wealth and resources in her hands. Although Ling Xiao had guessed that Yin Qingqing was a member of the Nine Nether Empire's imperial family, he did not know her true identity. Crown Prince? With Imperial Father in Nine Nether Empire, it's impossible for there to be a crown prince. Yin Qingqing smiled faintly as a cold glint flashed across her eyes. Tong Yuan sighed softly and changed the topic. Miss, Ling Xiao has already left the Fortune Pavilion. I don't think Chu Yuan will let him go. Do you need us to take action? No need. Yin Qingqing said faintly, if Ling Xiao really has the ability to heal my primordial spirit, he should be able to deal with Chu Yuan. This is a good opportunity to see how strong he is. Alright. Tong Yuan nodded and said. Ling Xiao arrived at the first floor of the Fortune Pavilion. Xiaoye was waiting anxiously at the door. Upon seeing Ling Xiao, Xiao Yu immediately went up to him and said, Young Master Ling, Chu Yuan, Zhou Zheng, and the others are waiting outside. They said that they want to make trouble for you. I have already sent a message to the princess. She should be here soon. Let's wait for the princess before going out. Chu Yuan and Zhou Zheng? Ling Zhao's eyes glinted as he said faintly, No need. I want to see who dares to stop me. Ling Xiao walked out of the Fortune Pavilion after he finished speaking. Young Master Ling, Xiaoye was extremely anxious. However, she could not stop Ling Xiao. She could only stomp her feet and hurriedly follow him. She prayed that Chu Qianqian would come quickly. Otherwise, something big would happen. Xiaoye had seen Ling Xiao in action back in Profound Light City. When Ling Xiao killed Commander Tai Shui, he didn't hesitate at all. His baleful aura was monstrous. He was an evil star, yet Chu Yuan and Zhou Zheng didn't know the difference between life and death. They just had to provoke him. When Ling Xiao walked out of the Fortune Building's entrance, he saw Chu Yuan and Zhou Zheng waiting for him outside. Zhou Zheng was at the 7th level of the Exalt realm while Chu Yuan was only at the 9th level of the Monarch realm. However, there was an old man in a black robe standing behind Chu Yuan. His face was covered in wrinkles, and he seemed extremely ordinary. However, Ling Xiao sensed a vast aura from him. A 9th-level Exalt Realm expert. No wonder Chu Yuan was so confident. He actually had a 9th-level Exalt Realm expert by his side. As far as he was concerned, Ling Xiao could be crushed with a wave of his hand. The moment Chu Yuan saw Ling Xiao come out, he immediately blocked in front of Ling Xiao and said with a cold laugh, "Brat, weren't you very arrogant? I'll give you a chance now. Hand over Pangu Yang and the Ghost King Herb, kneel down, kowtow, and admit your mistakes. Then I can spare your worthless life. Otherwise, even Chu Qianqian won't be able to save you." Zhou Jing sneered as well. "Ling Xiao, the young master, is already very magnanimous. If you don't want to die, then do as the young master says. Otherwise, you'll definitely die today." Zhou Jing was a narrow-minded person. In his opinion, Chu Qianqian was already his woman. However, Ling Xiao recklessly got so close to Chu Qianqian. He deserved to die. Ling Xiao calmly raised his head and glanced at Chu Yuan and Zhou Jing. "There are always so many stupid people in this world. I'll give you a chance as well. Kneel down and kowtow now and I can spare your lives." Ling Xiao's voice was very calm, but it carried a bone-chilling coldness. Xiaoya couldn't help but shiver. Her face turned pale. Ling Xiao really wanted to kill them. Xiaoya quickly jumped out and said to Chu Yuan and Zhou Jing, "Young master, Grand Commander, Ling Xiao is really powerful. You should leave quickly. Ling Xiao is the princess's guest. The princess will be here soon. If she sees that you're targeting Ling Xiao, she'll definitely be angry." "Powerful? Chu Yuan acted as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. He looked Ling Xiao up and down and said provocatively, "How dare an ant without any cultivation say that he's powerful? Are you going to hand it over or not? Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." Chu Yuan's eyes revealed a trace of cold killing intent. The black-robed elder standing behind Chu Yuan looked at Ling Xiao with a trace of doubt. Ling Xiao clearly didn't have any cultivation, but he felt a trace of danger. Could it be that Ling Xiao was hiding his cultivation? Chapter 940. No one dared to approach the Fortune Pavilion, but they were all watching from afar. They all looked at Ling Xiao with curiosity. Everyone knew that Chu Yuan was arrogant and despotic in the Chujiang royal city. No one had expected him to block a young man in front of the Fortune Pavilion. It seemed like this young man was in trouble. Some people looked at him sympathetically. "Ant-like thing. Piss off." Ling Xiao felt a trace of impatience. Everywhere he went, there would be people who didn't know what was good for them. They were like flies, annoying people. Thinking of that, he no longer held back and directly slapped out. Ling Xiao's palm seemed light and did not have any aura, but it contained a terrifying divine force that could not be resisted. The black-robed old man's eyes narrowed. He immediately knew that something was going to happen. He also sent a palm towards Ling Xiao. Boom! The black-robed old man's palm strike contained an extremely cold power, as if it could freeze everything. However, Ling Xiao's palm strike was grand and majestic, without any fancy moves. It only contained the ultimate physical strength, breaking through all techniques with brute force. In almost an instant, the black-robed old man's expression changed drastically. His palm had been directly shattered by Ling Xiao's palm, and an unparalleled divine force surged into his body, causing him to tremble and fly away in an instant. The slap viciously landed on Chu Yuan's face. Slap. A crisp sound rang out, followed by a miserable howl. Chu Yuan was instantly sent flying by Ling Xiao's slap. His teeth and blood spurted out of his mouth. His face was swollen like a bun as he viciously smashed into the street in the distance. This was the result of Ling Xiao holding back. Otherwise, this slap would have directly smashed Chu Yuan into meat paste. What? Everyone was stunned. They never thought that Ling Xiao would actually dare to attack and slap Chu Yuan viciously. Was this brat not afraid that Chu Yuan would kill him? Zhou Jing was stunned as well. Not only was he shocked by Ling Xiao's attack on Chu Yuan, But he was also shocked by the fact that the black-robed elder behind Chu Yuan was unable to withstand Ling Zhao's palm strike. That black-robed old man was the infamous old man Xian Ming of the Devil Dao. His ferocious prowess overflowed the heavens and he had killed countless people. Later on, he was subdued by General Heaven Duke and given to Chu Yuan as a guard. It was precisely because old man Xian Ming was present that Chu Yuan dared to do as he pleased in Chujiang Royal City. Who would have thought that old man Xian Ming would also suffer at Ling Zhao's hands? Who is this kid? Zhou Zheng suddenly felt a sense of regret. You too, Scram. Ling Zhao's cold gaze landed on Zhou Zheng as he similarly sent a slap towards Zhou Zheng's face. It was a casual slap, but it infuriated Zhou Zheng. He was the Black Tortoise commander of the Black Dragon Army, and his father was a general. If Ling Zhao's slap landed on his face, he would become a laughingstock. Kill! Zhou Zheng roared, his eyes blazing with murderous intent. The folding fan in his hand flashed and instantly turned into a black war saber. It was surrounded by black divine light as it slashed towards Ling Zhao's palm. The aura of the saber was monstrous, and the saber radiance was vast. It was as though a peerless black tortoise divine beast had been born as it charged towards Ling Zhao. Black tortoise space-splitting saber. This was the peerless saber technique that Zhou Zheng cultivated. It was said to be the martial arts of the ancient black tortoise divine beast. Although it was a little incomplete, its power was still extremely terrifying, far surpassing the average sovereign martial arts. Zhou Zheng did not hope to kill Ling Zhao, but he hoped that his palm could block Ling Zhao's attack. Furthermore, Zhou Zheng had already contacted his father through the power of his primordial spirit. As long as the general came, no matter how strong Ling Zhao was, he would definitely die. Boom! As the saber landed, it was as though the heavens and earth had been split into two. Great saber technique. It's a pity that your cultivation is not up to par. Ling Zhao said plainly as he sent out another palm. The palm print was extremely heavy and contained the power to suppress everything. You're courting death. A murderous glint flashed across Zhou Zheng's eyes. He had not expected Ling Zhao to dare to take on his supreme weapon with his bare hands. He swung his black saber, intending to cut off Ling Zhao's hand. Clang! Ling Zhao's palm imprinted on the black blade, and dazzling sparks burst out, shaking the void. Runes exploded one after another, and an unparalleled divine power burst out. Zhou Zheng's face changed drastically, and the black blade in his hand flew out in an instant. Boom! In the end, his arm exploded, and blood splattered everywhere. Ling Zhao's palm also landed on his face. Zhou Zheng was in the same situation as Chu Yuan, and he was sent flying while coughing up blood. His handsome face was swollen like a pig's head, and his expression was extremely twisted. Zhou Zheng's heart was filled with fear. Ling Zhao was like a divine beast in human form. His power was too terrifying, and he had no way to defend himself. Was he still human? Sir, aren't you a little too heavy-handed? Old man Xian Ming said as he stared at Ling Zhao. Heavy-handed? It's already their fortune that I didn't kill them. I feel like I went a little too easy on them. Ling Zhao smiled faintly. His calm gaze landed on Chu Yuan and Zhou Zheng, and he exuded a power that could penetrate their hearts. Chu Yuan and Zhou Zheng's faces were filled with hatred and anger, but when they met Ling Zhao's gaze, they could not help but tremble and lower their heads. Oh no, we're in big trouble now. Behind Ling Zhao, Xiao Yu's face was filled with anxiety. General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke were unfathomable, and they were very protective. If they were here, Ling Zhao would be finished. Although Ling Zhao was strong, Xiao Yu did not think that he could fight against the two generals. Therefore, Xiao Yu could only pray that Chu Qianqian would arrive soon. Sir, you're too arrogant. Although I'm not your match, General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke already know about this. I'm afraid they won't let you off. Old man Xian Ming said coldly. His senses were very sharp, and he could tell that Ling Zhao was very strong, even stronger than him. Therefore, he suppressed the killing intent in his heart and did not act rashly. Whoosh! At this moment, a dazzling divine rainbow streaked across the sky. Chu Qianqian, who was wearing black armor, looked valiant and had an extraordinary temperament. She arrived outside the fortune pavilion. When she saw Chu Yuan and Zhou Jing lying in the distance, a bitter smile appeared on her face. It seemed like she was still too late. "Brother Ling, let's go. My father wants to see you." Chu Qianqian shook her head and ignored Chu Yuan and Zhou Jing. She spoke slowly to Ling Xiao. "Why does King Chu Jiang want to see me?" Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked slowly. "Don't worry, I've already told my father about the 9 mystery realm. My father will take the blame for the deaths of those princes for you. However, my father is very curious about you and wants to see you. Let's leave quickly. If General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke come, we'll be in trouble." Chapter 941. Chu Qianqian, you allowed your subordinate to injure me. This matter isn't over yet. I've already told my grandfather. This brat must die. No one can save him. When Chu Yuan saw Chu Qianqian, he immediately became excited and shouted incoherently. His eyes were filled with resentment. "Chu Yuan, let me tell you. It's your fortune that Ling Xiao didn't kill you today. If you continue to act recklessly, even I won't be able to save you. Do you understand?" Chu Qianqian's face was ashen. She knew how ruthless Ling Xiao was. He had already given Chu Qianqian face by not killing Chu Yuan and Zhou Zheng. Otherwise, both of them would have died. What a joke. Chu Yuan still couldn't see the situation clearly. So what if he was General Heaven Duke? In Chu Qianqian's opinion, even General Heaven Duke might not be a match for Ling Xiao. "Princess Qianqian, I'm afraid it's not up to you to discipline my grandson." At this moment, an old voice resounded in the void. Light flickered in the void. An old man with white hair and beard appeared in the sky. He was wearing a long black robe. His face was hale and hearty, and his eyes were deep. He exuded an unfathomable aura. However, his face was cold as he looked at Chu Qianqian and Ling Xiao. "General Heaven Duke?" Chu Qianqian was shocked. She smiled bitterly. Indeed, what she was afraid of had come true. Gotcha. At this moment, another light flickered in the void. A middle-aged man in black armor with a black war saber on his back appeared. He exuded a murderous aura and a domineering aura. "Who dares to injure my son?" A majestic and domineering voice resounded in the void. The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent. "Father, Ling Xiao injured me. I suspect that this brat is a spy. He dared to attack me and the young prince. He deserves to die. We should ask father to kill him." When Zhou Zheng saw the middle-aged man in black armor, his eyes immediately revealed a look of incomparable joy. The second person in the Black Dragon Army, General Earth Duke. General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke arrived at the same time. Their cold aura intertwined, causing everyone to be unable to breathe. Chu Qianqian's face turned ugly. She didn't expect the two generals of the Black Dragon Army to be so protective. Because Chu Yuan and Zhou Zheng were beaten up, they came to find trouble with Ling Xiao at the same time. Chu Qianqian suppressed the anger in her heart and said slowly, "Generals, father wants to see Ling Xiao. If there's nothing else, we'll leave." "His Majesty wants to see this brat? Do you think you can just leave after rewarding my grandson? Kneel down and kowtow and apologize? And I can spare his life today," General Heaven Duke said coldly. Earthly Duke sneered and said, "That's right. Princess Qianqian, even if His Majesty wants to see him, he must first kowtow and apologize before leaving. Otherwise, I'll slaughter this brat." Although Chu Qianqian knew that General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke were used to being overbearing, she didn't expect them to not even put King Chujiang in their eyes. Her face immediately became incomparably unsightly. Ling Xiao's eyes also revealed a sharp glint. Like father, like son. Chu Yuan and Zhou Zheng's domineering attitude could be seen from General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke. However, if they thought Ling Xiao was easy to bully, they were wrong. "Trash who take advantage of your seniority. Who do you think you are to make me kneel?" A sharp glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he spoke rudely. As soon as he said that, everyone was dumbfounded. Ling Xiao dared to point at General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke and scold them. He was like a newborn calf that was not afraid of tigers. Was he not afraid of death? General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke's faces darkened. Their eyes were filled with cold killing intent. They controlled the Black Dragon army. Other than King Chujiang, they didn't care about anyone else. An ant-like brat dared to point at their noses and scold them. He was courting death. Good. How many years has it been since someone dared to talk to me like this? Brat, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. General Heaven Duke's eyes were filled with killing intent. A monstrous aura pressed down on Ling Xiao. Although he didn't know how Ling Xiao injured Chu Yuan and Zhou Zheng, Ling Xiao didn't have any cultivation. In his eyes, Ling Xiao was like an ant that could be crushed easily. This guy. Chu Qianqian smiled bitterly. Ling Xiao had completely offended General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke. Although Chu Qianqian knew that Ling Xiao was strong and wasn't afraid of them, it would be troublesome if a battle broke out here. In the fortune building, Yin Qingqing and Tong Yuan were also observing the conflict outside. This Ling Xiao is not simple. His body is strong like an ancient divine beast. I'm afraid he really has the combat strength of a titled warrior. However, General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke's strength is unfathomable. I'm afraid Ling Xiao will suffer. Yin Qingqing shook her head. When Ling Xiao defeated Old Man Xian Ming and Zhou Zheng with a single blow, Yin Qingqing was astonished and in disbelief. Ling Xiao didn't seem to have any cultivation, but when he attacked, it was as if he could destroy the world. His strength was terrifying to the extreme. Young miss, do you need us to take action? Tong Yuan asked. Let's wait and see. If Ling Xiao is really no match for them, then you can take action. Yin Qingqing said indifferently. Alright. Tong Yuan nodded and said, Rumble. Two terrifying auras exuded from General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke. They intertwined with each other and pressed down on Ling Xiao. That terrifying aura was enough to make a sovereign expert tremble and lose his mind. He might even kneel down involuntarily. However, it was useless against Ling Xiao. Old man, hurry up if you want to take action. I don't have time to accompany you here. Ling Xiao said indifferently with a cold glint in his eyes. If it wasn't for Chu Qianqian and the unfathomable King Chujiang in Chujiang Royal City, Ling Xiao really wanted to kill these two old men. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. Murderous intent flashed in General Heaven Duke's eyes as he pressed down on Ling Xiao with his palm. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled. The palm print was like an ancient divine mountain that contained the power of yin and yang. It was as if it wanted to grind everything into dust. Just as Ling Xiao was about to take action, a mysterious black light flashed in the void. Gotcha. The black light was ethereal and mysterious, and the palm print disappeared instantly. King. General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke's faces changed. Although King Chujiang didn't appear, they knew that King Chujiang had taken action. You guys can leave. Let Ling Xiao come and see me. Chapter 942. Yes. General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke's expressions changed. Although they were unwilling, they still replied respectfully. Lad, I'll spare your life today for the sake of the king. Let's go. General Heaven Duke looked at Ling Xiao coldly. With a wave of his sleeves, he immediately turned around and left with Chu Yuan and the others. He was very straightforward. Fortunately, Father intervened. These two old fellows were too arrogant. Only Imperial Father could deal with them. Let's go. With Father around, they won't dare to be presumptuous. Chu Qianqian heaved a sigh of relief and smiled at Ling Xiao. All right. Ling Xiao nodded faintly. If it wasn't for King Chujiang's intervention, Ling Xiao really wanted to kill these two old things with a single punch. Although General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke were very strong, Ling Xiao's true dragon body had already reached perfection. He could even kill a titled supreme with a single punch. Ling Xiao was curious about King Chujiang. He wanted to see if King Chujiang was a half-step to divine spirit who had refined a godhead like the two holy masters of War God Temple. After Ling Xiao came to the reincarnation world, he realized that the combat power here was much stronger than the War God world. Just like in the reincarnation world, Honorable experts were the strongest in the martial arts sanctuary. Even martial arts sanctuaries like Star Palace and Moon Palace didn't have many honorable experts. However, there were more than 100 honorable experts in Chujiang region. King Chujiang was a half-step to divine spirit expert. In this case, there were at least 11 half-step to divine spirits in the reincarnation world, including the 9 Nether Emperor. In the War God world, the only known half-step to divine spirits were the left and right holy masters and the mysterious war god. This was also because the war god world had suffered a catastrophe 10,000 years ago. Many experts had died in battle. Until now, the war god world hadn't recovered to its peak. However, the reincarnation world didn't seem to have suffered a catastrophe 10,000 years ago. This surprised Ling Xiao. Could it be that the extraterrestrial demon was hiding somewhere in the war god world? That catastrophe didn't affect the reincarnation world? Ling Xiao pondered as he entered the heavily guarded Central Imperial City with Chu Qianqian. Inside the Central Imperial City, experts gathered. Palaces stood in great numbers, and countless powerful divine formations were carved. They were incomparably powerful. Ling Xiao and Chu Qianqian passed through many palaces and finally stopped at the foot of a beautiful mountain. Ling Xiao, royal father, is at the top of the mountain. Go up yourself. Father is very curious about you, but he doesn't have any ill intentions. Don't worry. Chu Qianqian looked at Ling Xiao and said, "All right." Ling Xiao smiled faintly, a glimmer of light flashing in his eyes. He was also able to sense that there was an incomparably powerful aura at the top of the mountain. It was vast like the heavens and the earth. Presumably, it should be King Chujiang. Ling Xiao slowly walked up and passed through the forest. Soon he arrived at the top of the mountain. At the top of the mountain, a middle-aged man in a Taoist robe sat cross-legged on a large blue stone. His face was clear and unique, and his long black hair was tied up with a jade hairpin. His face was like jade, and he was extraordinarily handsome. At this moment, his eyes were closed, and his entire body seemed to emit a strange fluctuation. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He could tell that the middle-aged man before him should be King Chujiang. The aura on his body was very similar to that of the War God Temple's left and right holy masters. They were both half-step divine spirits who had refined the divine spark. However, his aura was even more powerful, as if it was extremely compatible with the divine spark. Even his physical body had a divine energy. "You're here." King Chujiang opened his eyes. His gaze was incomparably calm as it fell on Ling Xiao. "Greetings, King Chujiang. May I know why King Chujiang is looking for me?" Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He did not avoid King Chujiang's gaze as he looked at him. "Perfect physical body, the pinnacle of the human Tao, and you possess the bloodline of the true dragon. Ling Xiao, you're indeed not an ordinary person. There has never been someone like you in the reincarnation world. If I'm not wrong, I'm afraid you're not from the reincarnation world, right?" King Chujiang looked deeply at Ling Xiao. There was a glimmer of strange light in his eyes, as if he could see through Ling Xiao. "Oh, you're so sure?" Ling Xiao smiled faintly and did not comment on it. "At my cultivation level, the path ahead is already cut off. However, I can see that your aura does not belong to the reincarnation world. However, I don't care if you're from the reincarnation world or not. I invited you here because I have a request," King Chujiang said slowly. "King Chujiang has a request for me?" Ling Xiao asked in surprise. "That's right. I hope that you can protect my King Chujiang's lineage to the best of your ability," King Chujiang said slowly. "Moreover, why should I agree to it?" Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a glimmer of light. "Because you have the ability. In return, I'll tell you where Xuewei is." King Chujiang looked deeply at Ling Xiao and said, "Xuewei." Ling Xiao's body trembled. He could no longer maintain his calm as a glimmer of light appeared in his eyes. "Where is Xuewei?" Ling Xiao looked at King Chujiang and asked. He did not expect King Chujiang to know the name Xuewei. "Xuewei is very safe now. However, I can't tell you where she is now. When you come out of the underworld's sacred river and your injuries are healed, I'll tell you everything." King Chujiang said slowly. Alright. I promise you. Ling Xiao said slowly. He could feel that King Chujiang was telling the truth. He should really know where Shui Wei was. He originally wanted Yin Qingqing to help him investigate Shui Wei's whereabouts. However, he did not expect to receive an unexpected surprise from King Chujiang. Thank you. King Chujiang said sincerely. No need. However, I don't understand. You're already a half-step godly spirit. Now that the gate of the God world is closed and the heavens road is cut off, you're already at the peak of the world. Why do you need me to protect King Chujiang's lineage? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he asked slowly. The calamity of the world is coming. Even a half-step godly spirit can't stay out of it. However, you're different. I can see the hope of the calamity from you. I want to form a good relationship with you. King Chujiang said slowly. Alright. When will the underworld's sacred river open? Ling Xiao asked. No matter what King Chujiang wanted to do, the most important thing for Ling Xiao now was to recover his cultivation. As long as he could recover from his injuries and completely recover his cultivation, so what if he was a half-step godly spirit? Ling Xiao could fight and kill him. No matter how many schemes there were, he just needed to crush them. Half a month later, the underworld's sacred river will open. At that time, you can enter and cultivate. King Chujiang said calmly. Thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Ling Xiao looked at King Chujiang before he turned and left. Chapter 943. Ling Xiao and Chu Chanqian returned to the Hornless Dragon Palace together. After Chu Chanqian obtained the Torch Dragon Blood Essence, she could not wait to cultivate in seclusion. She also agreed to enter the Yellow Spring Sacred River with Ling Xiao half a month later. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged in a secret chamber, preparing to refine the 9 Revolutions Life Return Elixir. Swoosh! A dark golden cage flew out of the longevity ring. Inside it was Pangu Yang, whose face was filled with hatred and viciousness. Ling Xiao opened the cage and broke the seal on Pangu Yang's body. You're free. Ling Xiao said faintly with a calm expression. Pangu Yang was stunned. He did not know why Ling Xiao wanted to let him go. However, he only hesitated for a moment before he pounced on Ling Xiao. As long as he killed the person in front of him, there was hope for him to escape. Boom! Pangu Yang threw out a punch. His blood chi surged. This punch contained the power to split heaven and earth. It was heavy and majestic, with a natural aura. Good fist technique. Ling Xiao sighed in admiration and slowly pointed out a finger. Bang! Pangu Yang felt as if he was struck by lightning. His entire arm went numb. He was sent flying for dozens of feet and slammed into the wall of the secret chamber. You don't have to be so agitated. I'm not your enemy. Ling Xiao said slowly. Pangu Yang looked at Ling Xiao fiercely and vigilantly. He knew that the person in front of him was very strong, but the hatred in his heart was not so easily resolved. He still looked as if he could attack at any time. Ling Xiao had already broken the seal on Pangu Yang. Although he could speak, he still glared at Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. A light flashed in his hand as he formed a seal with both hands. A dazzling light rose from Ling Xiao's palms, forming a strange light wheel that contained the mysterious power of reincarnation. It was extremely beautiful. Seal of reincarnation. This was the basic technique of reincarnation that Ling Xiao obtained from Pangu Chu. He wanted to see if Pangu Yang could recognize this divine ability. Seal of reincarnation? Pangu Yang trembled. He looked at Ling Xiao in disbelief and his body trembled. His voice was like that of an 8 or 9-year-old child. It was clear but also deep. He stared at Ling Xiao with his big eyes, looking honest and cute. How do you know the seal of samsara? For you. Pangu Yang stared at Ling Xiao, his eyes filled with shock. Do you know the beginning of Pangu? Ling Xiao replied with a question of his own. The beginning of Pangu? He is the 3600th leader of the Pangu clan, a peerless expert 1,000,000 years ago, and my ancestor. Of course, I know him. How did you know? Pangu Yang was completely stunned. Pangu Chu's name was a secret even in the entire Pangu clan. If he wasn't the young patriarch of the Pangu clan, he wouldn't have known about him. As for the reincarnation ability, it was created by Pangu. However, the reincarnation technique created by Pangu a million years ago was still incomplete. There was only one reincarnation seal, and it wasn't as complete as Ling Zhao's reincarnation technique. In the entire Pangu clan, only the patriarch could practice the transmigration divine power. I have Pangu Chu's corpse here. You can take a look. Ling Zhao didn't answer Pangu Yang. Instead, he smiled faintly and took out Pangu Chu's corpse. The corpse was hundreds of feet tall and exuded a monstrous aura. Its skeleton looked as if it was cast in gold. Although it had been dead for a million years, it had an invincible domineering aura. Ancestor? When Pangu Yang saw the giant corpse, the aura of a bloodline connection surged into his heart. Whether this corpse was Pangu Chu or not, it was definitely a peerless expert of the Pangu clan, and it contained the same bloodline power. Pangu Yang knelt down heavily, as if he had seen a family member after a long separation. Large drops of tears rolled down from his eyes. I found Senior Pangu Chu's corpse by accident and obtained the reincarnation ability. As per Senior's last wish, I'm returning it to the Pangu clan. Ling Zhao looked at Pangu Yang calmly and said, Senior, thank you for returning my ancestor's corpse. The Pangu clan will never forget your great kindness. Pangu Yang bowed deeply to Ling Zhao and said resolutely. Ling Zhao was able to use the seal of reincarnation, and it was more profound and powerful than Pangu Yang's. Pangu Yang believed Ling Zhao's words. The corpse in front of him was Pangu Chu. The Pangu clan clearly distinguished between kindness and hatred, and they always kept their promises. Pangu Yang no longer had any hostility toward Ling Zhao, only deep gratitude. Get up first. Tell me about the Pangu clan's situation. How did you end up like this? Ling Zhao raised his hand and helped Pangu Yang up. When Ling Zhao mentioned the Pangu clan's current situation, Pangu Yang's eyes were filled with sorrow. He said, Senior, although the Pangu clan has unparalleled talent and invincible bodies, and an adult of the Pangu clan has the strength of a supreme, it is very difficult for us to reproduce. We have never had more than 10,000 people. A million years ago, the extraterritorial demons came to the Samsara world. Under the leadership of the Saintess of Samsara, we fought back and suffered great casualties. In the end, we expelled the extraterritorial demons. The Saintess of Samsara guarded the Samsara temple and burned her own life to seal all the extraterritorial demons. For a million years, the Pangu clan and the Samsara temple have been fighting against the extraterritorial demons. However, 10,000 years ago, the new Saintess of Samsara disappeared for unknown reasons. The Empire of Jiu tried to betray the Samsara temple and joined forces with the other 7 kings except for King Qingguang, King Chujiang, and King Songdi to attack the Samsara temple. The Empire of Jiu's scheme was stopped by the Pangu clan's desperate resistance. However, since then, the Empire of Jiu has regarded us as a thorn in their side. They used the power of the Samsara world to hunt us down and enslave us. This hatred is irreconcilable. Pangu Yang saw Ling Zhao as his savior, so he didn't hide anything from him. He told Ling Zhao everything. The Samsara temple? What's the relationship between the Samsara temple, the Empire of Jiu, and the 10 kings? Ling Zhao's eyes lit up. This was the first time he had heard of the Samsara temple. The War God world had the War God temple, and the Samsara temple in the Samsara world. Was there a connection between the two? The Yin clan of the Empire of Jiu and the 10 kings were originally the subordinates and servants of the first Saintess of Samsara. They were allowed to rule the Samsara world because they were trusted by the first Saintess of Samsara. However, after a million years, the Emperor of Jiu, Yin Jiutian, became ambitious and tried to invade the Samsara temple while the Saintess of Samsara was missing. He deserved to die for his crime. Chapter 944. The Empire of Jiu and the 10 kings were the subordinates and servants of the first Saintess of Samsara? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. Most people did not know about this. Only the Pangu clan knew so many secrets. The Yin clan? It seems that Yin Qingqing is a member of the royal family. She might be a princess. Ling Zhao thought to himself. Pangu Yang continued, over the past 10,000 years, more than half of the Pangu clan died in battle. Now, there are less than 1,000 of us left. They are all hiding in a secret realm. I left the secret realm and wanted to go to the Samsara temple, but I was caught by the Jiuyu troop. The talent of the Pangu clan is indeed terrifying. Ling Xiao also sighed softly. The adult members of the Pangu clan all had the combat strength of a supreme being. Even if only 1,000 out of 10,000 members were adults, that was still 1,000 supreme beings. Their strength was terrifying. How terrifying would the empire of Jiuyu be if they could destroy the Pangu clan? Ling Xiao's eyes turned solemn. I heard from the elders in the clan that the Pangu clan was cursed by the heavenly Tao. There is a shackling force in our bloodline. Therefore, our cultivation is at most half a step away from the tribulation of 4 symbols. We can only rely on our physical strength to fight against a supreme. Otherwise, if we break the shackling of our bloodline, the Pangu clan will definitely be the strongest clan in the samsara world. No one can compare to us. Pangu Yang's eyes had a tinge of sadness and pride. Bloodline shackling. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, revealing a strange look. He remembered that in the war god world, the Feng Shui family and the Tomb King city had their bloodline shackled. They could not become supreme either, but they both had the fighting strength of a supreme. This was probably not a coincidence. Could it be that there was a mastermind behind the scenes who planted a shackling force in their bloodline? Needless to say, it was impossible for an ordinary person to leave such a shackling force in their bloodline. Only a deity realm expert could do it. However, the 9 volumes of destiny might be able to break the shackling force in their bloodline. In that case, the Pangu clan will become extremely powerful. Ling Xiao thought to himself. Although the Pangu clan only had 1,000 clansmen, there were at least 100 of them who possessed the battle prowess of a supreme being. If the shackles on their bloodlines were released, a group of invincible experts would be created in an instant. However, although Ling Xiao was taking care of the Pangu clan for the sake of Pangu Chu, he had to wait and see if he was going to help the Pangu clan break the bloodline shackles. Senior, you have brought back the remains of our ancestor. You are a great benefactor of the Pangu clan. If you return to the clan with me, the elders of the clan will certainly thank you. A hint of expectation appeared in Pangu Yang's eyes. There's no rush. I still have matters to attend to, so I need to stay in Chujiang Royal City for a while. Once I'm done here, I'll go to the Pangu clan with you. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. At the end of the day, Pangu Yang was still a child. Although Ling Xiao brought back Pangu Chu's corpse, it might just be a trap. If it were an ordinary person, they wouldn't have invited Ling Xiao back to the secret realm of the Pangu clan. Thankfully, Pangu Yang was lucky enough to meet Ling Xiao. His top priority right now was to concoct the 9 transformations soul return pill and enter the Yellow Springs sacred river to recover. Once his cultivation base was fully recovered, he could go with Pangu Yang to the Pangu clan. Ling Xiao imparted the reincarnation divine ability to Pangu Yang and had him cultivate off to the side while he prepared to concoct the 9 transformations soul return pill. The 9 transformations soul return pill was a miraculous pill from the distant past. It was said to be able to bring someone back to life as long as they still had a breath of life left in them. It was especially effective for treating injuries to the nascent spirit. In order to concoct the 9 transformations soul return pill, Ling Xiao had gone all out. He had concocted quasi-godly level ghost king thistle, 9 sage medicines, and over 100 other spirit medicines. Whiz! The King Heaven Devourer cauldron appeared in front of Ling Xiao, its heaven-devouring fire blazing with dazzling light. Ling Xiao had now completely recovered his alchemy skills from his previous life. The 9 dragons playing with Pearl's fire control technique was as smooth as flowing water in his hands, and he was extremely proficient. The spirit medicines were devoured by the King Heaven Devourer cauldron, and under Ling Xiao's control, 9 flaming true dragons rose up to refine their quintessence. Ling Xiao's pill concocting was like a work of art, and it was very enjoyable. Off to the side, Pangu Yang's eyes went wide. As the junior clan chief of the Pangu clan, Pangu Yang was no fool. He had seen Pangu elders concoct pills before, but compared to what Ling Xiao was doing, They were nothing more than crude. Ling Zhao's fingers weaved through the air like butterflies as he performed a series of incantation gestures to control the Heaven Devourer cauldron, refining the quintessence of the spirit medicines, fusing with the magical laws of heaven and earth, and forming the godliness of the pills. Ling Zhao performed the entire process in a dazzling fashion. 9 days and 9 nights later. Inside the King Heaven Devourer cauldron was a dazzling sun that radiated dazzling light and a terrifying aura. Pangu Yang could feel the pressure weighing down on him, and his face went pale. Open! Ling Zhao's tightly shut eyes suddenly opened as he roared. Whoosh! The King Heaven Devourer cauldron erupted with dazzling light like a pillar of heaven, and 9 dazzling medicinal pills shot out of it. Wind and lightning crackled within the chamber as the power of magical laws converged. Instantly, tribulation lightning began to descend. Although the 9 transformations soul return pill was still a paragon pill, it was still only slightly inferior to the legendary god pills. In fact, the fact that Ling Zhao was able to produce 9 pills was a pleasant surprise. Ryuumble. Streaks of pill tribulations descended one after another. After absorbing the power of lightning, the originally resplendent pills began to retract their golden light. In the end, they turned into 9 pitch-black pills that landed in Ling Zhao's palm. The 9 transformations soul return pill was complete. There was a trace of exhaustion on Ling Zhao's face, but he was incomparably satisfied. 9 transformations soul return pills. Even if he gave one to Yin Qingqing, the rest would be more than enough to heal his nascent divinity. Leaving Pangu Yang to continue cultivating in the chamber, Ling Zhao walked out. Brother Ling, were you the one refining the pills just now? Chu Qianqian was also alarmed by Ling Zhao, and she was already waiting outside the chamber. When she saw Ling Zhao walk out, her eyes were filled with disbelief. That tribulation was clearly caused by the birth of the paragon pill. Could it be that Ling Zhao was an alchemy paragon? That's right. I refined some healing medicinal pills. Ling Zhao said with a faint smile. What the monster? Chu Qianqian said with a bitter smile. Not only was his martial talent extraordinary, but he was also an alchemy paragon. Such peerless talent was a huge blow to Chu Qianqian's confidence. 6th level paragon realm? A flawless body, perfect as one. Not bad, not bad. It seems like the torch dragon blood essence has benefited you greatly. Chapter 945. Ling Zhao could tell at a glance that Chu Qianqian's aura had changed after refining the torch dragon's blood essence. She exuded a mysterious and noble aura. Her physical body was complete, and her foundation was strong. She had already established the foundation for her title. This is all thanks to you. By the way, the Yellow Springs Sacred River will open in 3 days. Father asked me to inform you, but you better be careful this time. The 3 great generals and many other commanders will enter to cultivate. Especially General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke. I'm afraid they will cause trouble for you. Chu Qianqian glanced at Ling Zhao with a hint of worry in her eyes. If they really don't know what's good for them, I don't mind fulfilling their wishes. Ling Zhao smiled faintly. He did not care about General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke at all. Although there were many experts in the reincarnation world, the most powerful one was only a demigod. Once Ling Zhao's cultivation base was fully recovered, he would not even be afraid of a demigod, let alone 2 titled supremes. Brother Ling, you are too murderous. Chu Qianqian laughed bitterly. However, she also knew that if General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke were to cause trouble for Ling Zhao would not be merciful. It seemed like she had to talk to her father and restrain General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke. Ling Zhao left the Nightmare Dragon Palace and headed to the Fortune Pavilion. Yin Qingqing and Tong Yuan were already waiting for Ling Zhao in the Fortune Pavilion. Although Ling Zhao said that he could cure Yin Qingqing, Tong Yuan and Yin Qingqing still had doubts in their hearts. Now that they saw Ling Zhao arrive on time, Tong Yuan and Yin Qingqing's eyes were filled with joy. Young Master Ling, has the 9 Revolutions Soul Return Elixir been refined? Tong Yuan's eyes were filled with anticipation as he asked Ling Zhao. Yes, it has been refined. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. A glass jade bottle appeared in his palm. It looked crystal clear, and there was a black elixir inside. It exuded a majestic medicinal fragrance. It looked perfectly round and simple, and mysterious law patterns were imprinted on it. It is indeed an ancient elixir, the 9 Revolutions Soul Return Elixir. Young Master Ling, can you cure my young mistress today? Tong Yuan took a deep breath and looked at it carefully as if he had found a treasure. He then looked at Ling Xiao expectantly and said, "Today, I am here to treat the pavilion lord. Elder Tong, please step back." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Good. No problem, thank you, young Master Ling." Tong Yuan was also extremely excited. He turned around and left the room. He stood guard outside to protect Ling Xiao and Yin Qingqing. Only Ling Xiao and Yin Qingqing were left in the room. "Young Master Ling, how are you going to treat me?" Yin Qingqing looked at Ling Xiao curiously. "It's simple. Just sit down cross-legged," Ling Xiao said with a smile. The Dao injury on Yin Qingqing's primordial spirit was something that even a demigod could do nothing about. However, it was not difficult for Ling Xiao. With the King Heaven Devourer Cauldron, Ling Xiao's heaven-devouring secret magic could devour anything and everything, including the magical laws of Yin Qingqing's nascent divinity. That was why Ling Xiao agreed to heal Yin Qingqing. Yin Qingqing followed Ling Xiao's instructions and sat down cross-legged. Her eyes were slightly closed and her long eyelashes fluttered. She looked very lovable. Ling Xiao took a deep breath, and his eyes flashed. Instantly, he pointed his finger at the sky. Whiz! Ling Xiao placed his finger on Yin Qingqing's forehead, causing the King Heaven Devourer Cauldron to shine brightly and appear in her sea of consciousness. Yin Qingqing's primordial spirit looked like a Jiutian goddess. She sat cross-legged in the endless void, but there were strands of light around her. Those were the power of law, and they had merged with Yin Qingqing's primordial spirit. Not even a half-step divine spirit could do anything about it. If he wanted to remove the magical laws, he would have to destroy Yin Qingqing's nascent divinity. The King Heaven Devourer Cauldron floated above Yin Qingqing's nascent divinity, shining with dazzling light that made it seem mysterious and enigmatic. A dazzling vortex appeared as the King Heaven Devourer Cauldron poured out streams of Heaven Devourer power, which began to devour the magical laws surrounding Yin Qingqing's nascent divinity. "What's that?" Yin Qingqing asked, visibly shaken. The King Heaven Devourer Cauldron was ancient and mysterious, almost like some sort of god item. It pulsed with an aura that caused her heart to tremble. At this point, Yin Qingqing could sense the unfathomable power radiating off of Ling Xiao. "Focus your mind. Visualize the void." Ling Xiao's voice boomed like thunder in Yin Qingqing's sea of consciousness. Yin Qingqing's body trembled. She gathered all the distracting thoughts in her mind and began to observe the void. She concealed her spirit and qi and allowed Ling Xiao to devour the wisps of power of law. The magical laws of the moon and the sun, truly mysterious and enigmatic. Ling Xiao's eyes glittered as he realized that the magical laws of yin and yang surrounding Yin Qingqing's nascent divinity were very profound. Unfortunately, Yin Qingqing's nascent divinity was only a lunar nascent divinity, which meant that she hadn't fully fused with the quintessence of the sun. As a result, the magical laws of yin and yang caused her nascent divinity power to be drained away. That said, the magical laws of yin and yang were so pure that even the Heaven Devourer's secret art was taking a very long time to devour them. As the magical laws of yin and yang were absorbed by the Heaven Devourer's secret art, Ling Xiao began to understand the secrets of the moon and the sun. This was a huge opportunity. The Taiji gave birth to yin and yang, which were the energies of yin and yang. However, the energies of yin and yang in heaven and earth were mysterious and could be found anywhere, but were impossible to grasp. The magical laws of yin and yang were one of the origin laws of heaven and earth and were extremely difficult to comprehend. At that moment, Ling Xiao started to comprehend the magical power of yin and yang by refining the magical laws of yin and yang in Yin Qingqing's nascent divinity. This was a great opportunity for Ling Xiao. If he could fully comprehend the magical laws of yin and yang, it wouldn't be impossible for him to become a deity. Just like that, Ling Xiao devoured the magical laws of yin and yang and comprehended them at the same time. 3 days passed and the magical laws in Yin Qingqing's nascent divinity had been completely devoured and refined by Ling Xiao. Buzz. The 9 transformations life return elixir turned into a ray of light and merged into Yin Qingqing's nascent divinity. It turned into a majestic and pure energy and slowly nourished Yin Qingqing's nascent divinity. Ling Xiao slowly opened his eyes and took a deep breath. Yin Qingqing had completely entered into a state of cultivation. Her body was covered by a black ray of light, which was extremely strange. Ling Xiao pushed the door open and walked out. "Young Master Ling, how is Mrs. Primordial Spirit injury?" When Tong Yuan saw Ling Xiao, he couldn't wait to greet him. His eyes were filled with anticipation. "Fortunately, I didn't let you down." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. "Really? Thank you, young Masterling. Thank you, young Masterling. Let me take a look at Miss." Tong Yuan instantly thanked Ling Xiao excitedly. He couldn't wait to enter the room to check on Yin Qingqing's injuries. Chapter 946. The underworld's sacred river should be open by now. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. 3 days had passed, and the agreed time with Chu Tianqian was up. Ling Xiao left the fortune tower and headed towards the Black Dragon Mountain range. "Ling Xiao, you're finally back. The underworld's sacred river is open. Let's go." Outside the Hornless Dragon Palace, Chu Tianqian was pleasantly surprised when she saw Ling Xiao. "All right." Ling Xiao nodded and headed towards the central imperial city with Chu Tianqian. The underworld's sacred river was like a huge spiritual vein that was suppressed under the Chujiang royal city in a sealed space. The underworld's sacred river flowed naturally and provided the Chujiang royal city with a vast amount of energy. However, there were very few who could cultivate in the underworld's sacred river. One had to be at least a supreme to qualify. Ling Xiao and Chu Tianqian stopped at a square in the central imperial city. There was an ancient stone door in the square that was shining brightly as if it led to another world. Outside the ancient stone gate, there was a group of elite guards in armor. Each of them had a cold look in their eyes, like lightning. "Ling Xiao, there are about 100 people who are qualified to cultivate in the underworld's sacred river this time. Among them, General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke have entered. Only General Man Duke did not enter. He is guarding the Black Dragon Mountain range. You must be careful. I'm afraid General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke will find trouble with you." Chu Tianqian looked at Ling Xiao and said, "It's fine. If they dare to provoke me, I'll just kill them." Ling Xiao smiled faintly and did not take it to heart. Chu Tianqian smiled bitterly and shook her head. She followed Ling Xiao through the ancient stone door. Rumble. With a flash of light, Ling Xiao and Chu Tianqian appeared in a vast space. In front of them was a huge river that spanned tens of thousands of miles. It was hundreds of miles wide and meandered like a huge dragon that led to the depths of the endless void. This was one of the 10 major branches of the underworld's sacred river. Ling Xiao stood at the bank of the underworld's sacred river and could feel the surging waves. The river exuded a vast and majestic aura that contained a rich aura of life and death. Ling Xiao could sense that there were hundreds of figures in this space. Each of them had an extremely powerful aura. They sat in different parts of the underworld's sacred river and were absorbing the power of life and death. Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, 2 powerful auras appeared in front of Ling Xiao and Chu Tianqian in an instant. It was an old man with white hair and a beard. He had a dignified appearance and an indifferent gaze. His entire body emitted an unfathomable aura. It was a middle-aged man in armor. His body was covered with a murderous aura. His eyes were sharp and filled with cold, killing intent. The moment the 2 of them appeared, a cold, murderous intent locked onto Ling Xiao. These 2 people were General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke. Chu Tianqian's expression immediately changed. She said coldly, "Generals, what do you want to do?" Chu Tianqian was afraid that General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke would cause trouble for Ling Xiao. She even went to find King Chujiang to warn them, but she didn't expect them to not put King Chujiang in their eyes at all. What are you doing? Of course, it was to kill this brat. Princess Qianqian, I advise you to step aside. If I accidentally injure you, I'm afraid it won't be good. General Earthly Duke sneered. The killing intent in his eyes was almost tangible. You, impudent. Chu Qianqian's expression suddenly became extremely ugly. She didn't expect General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke to be so arrogant. They didn't even put her in their eyes and were determined to kill Ling Xiao. Princess Qianqian, you should step aside. Don't worry. We won't take his life for the sake of you and the king. As long as we cripple his cultivation and make him kneel down and apologize, we can spare his life. General Heaven Duke also said indifferently. Generals, Ling Xiao is father's honored guest. Aren't you afraid that father will blame you for hurting him? Chu Qianqian's eyes were filled with anger as she said coldly. His Majesty won't blame us. General Heaven Duke's eyes revealed a strange look as he said indifferently. Two old dogs, since you're in such a hurry to die, get over here. I'll fulfill your wish. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he said with a cold smile. Although General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke had extraordinary cultivation and had already attained their titles, Ling Xiao didn't put them in his eyes at all. The two of them were determined to find trouble with Ling Xiao, which made Ling Xiao feel a trace of murderous intent in his heart. Brat, you're courting death. General Earth Duke's eyes were blazing with murderous intent as a vast and unparalleled aura pressed down on Ling Xiao. The underworld's sacred river became even more violent. Waves surged into the sky and mist filled the air. The power of life and death flowed and emitted a murderous intent. The commotion here also alarmed the others. The supremes of Chujiang Royal City, the commanders of the Black Dragon Army, and many princes were awakened from their cultivation. Each of them spread out their spiritual consciousness and noticed this place. Who is this brat? Why did General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke come to deal with him personally? That brat seems to be called Ling Xiao. He injured Zhou Zheng and Chu Yuan outside the fortune building. General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke are here to settle the score with him. Hee, this brat really deserves it. General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke are the most protective. Even father is helpless. Looks like this brat is going to be beaten to death. Many spiritual consciousnesses intertwined and discussed. Some were curious, while others were gloating. Princess Qianqian, it's not that I don't want to give you face, but these two old things have gone too far. I have no choice but to take action. Ling Xiao said indifferently with a cold glint in his eyes. Be careful. Chu Qianqian laughed bitterly and shook her head. Ling Xiao was extremely powerful and had many secrets. Even the primordial spirit of Supreme Nine Yin couldn't possess Ling Xiao. Although General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke were strong, they were probably not Ling Xiao's match. Chu Qianqian just didn't want General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke to die in Ling Xiao's hands. Unfortunately, these two old men didn't know what to do, so Chu Qianqian couldn't do anything about it. Two old dogs, come out and accept your death. Ling Xiao sneered and pointed at General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke provocatively. You're courting death. General Earth Duke's temper was the most explosive. Murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he took a step forward and struck his palm at Ling Xiao. Boom! This palm was dazzling like a resplendent blade radiance. It was as if it was going to split the heavens and earth and reverse the heavenly river. It was extremely terrifying. However, Ling Xiao's eyes were indifferent as he simply struck out with a punch. Kacha! Golden lightning exploded as Ling Xiao's aura changed drastically. His vital energy and blood surged as if he had transformed into a supreme divine beast. This punch was extremely terrifying. Chapter 947. Rumble. That blade radiance was instantly shattered by Ling Xiao's punch. Ling Xiao's fist momentum was unparalleled. Like a golden lightning, it landed on General Earthly Duke's chest. General Earthly Duke's expression changed. He only felt the terror of Ling Xiao's physical body when Ling Xiao attacked. The black armor around his body shone, and black gas rose from his body. A huge black tortoise appeared behind him, exuding a monstrous evil aura. It suddenly pounced on Ling Xiao. However, that huge black tortoise was still no match for Ling Xiao's punch. Almost at the moment of contact with the fist, it exploded into a black rain of light. General Earthly Duke hurriedly threw out a punch and clashed head-on with Ling Xiao. Boom! One of his arms was directly shattered by Ling Xiao, exploding into a bloody mist. He flew hundreds of feet away and crashed heavily into the Netherworld's sacred river, stirring up monstrous waves. What? Many spiritual consciousnesses exclaimed in shock. Chu Qianqian's eyes were also filled with shock. Although she knew that Ling Xiao's strength was unparalleled and his physical body was as strong as a divine beast's, General Earthly Duke and General Earthly Duke were both titled supreme martial artists. Their cultivation was unfathomable. She also did not expect Ling Xiao to defeat General Earthly Duke with a single punch. The power of a single punch was so great. Chu Qianqian also deeply understood what it meant to use strength to break all skills. No matter what remarkable martial arts, in the face of absolute strength, everything would be reduced to dust. Peak physical body. Who exactly are you? How can the strength of your physical body be so terrifying? General Earthly Duke's eyes were filled with shock. Ling Xiao's physical body was too strong. Those who provided him with information had most likely underestimated Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao must die. General Earthly Duke's eyes revealed a trace of murderous intent. A ray of dazzling black light exploded in an instant, turning into a terrifying formation that enveloped Ling Xiao. Earthly Duke, let's attack together and kill him. General Earthly Duke's eyes were cold. An ancient sword appeared in his hand. It was extremely sharp and pierced through the air toward Ling Xiao's glabella. Kill! General Earthly Duke also held a black saber in his hand. Murderous aura surged around him. He slashed down with his saber, slicing through the void and heading towards Ling Xiao. Within the formation, there seemed to be strands of strange energy that restricted Ling Xiao's movements, causing him to move extremely slowly. Moreover, there was a terrifying devouring power that was devouring Ling Xiao's blood chi essence, trying to weaken his physical strength. This is the essence devouring coalescence array. Not good. Ling Xiao is in danger. Chu Qianqian's eyes flashed. She instantly recognized the origin of the formation in front of her and revealed an extremely anxious expression. The origin devouring coalescence array was an ancient divine array that General Heaven Duke had found in an ancient relic. It was extremely powerful and could devour all kinds of energy. Even titled supreme martial artists would find it hard to resist. Once, there were 3 titled supreme martial artists who had joined forces to kill General Heaven Duke. However, he had used the origin devouring coalescence formation to trap the 3 titled supreme martial artists and killed them in one blow. It was also because of that glorious battle that General Heaven Duke was appointed as the commander-in-chief of the Black Dragon Army by King Chujiang. Ling Xiao's strongest point was his physical strength. If his physical strength was restricted by the origin devouring coalescence array, he might not be a match for General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke. Unexpectedly, the 2 of them had even used the origin devouring coalescence array in order to kill Ling Xiao. They had put in a lot of effort. Chu Qianqian vaguely felt that something was amiss, but she could not pinpoint what was wrong. However, this space was sealed after it was opened. Only King Chujiang could open it. The others had to wait for a month before they could leave. Although Chu Qianqian was anxious, there was nothing she could do. Rumble. In the origin devouring coalescence array, strands of formation energy intertwined and exploded with a terrifying devouring power. It wanted to devour Ling Xiao's physical body and blood chi completely. General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke were already charging towards Ling Xiao. It looked like Ling Xiao was about to die in their hands. However, Ling Xiao's gaze was extremely calm. There was even a hint of mockery in his eyes. Is this your trump card? What a disappointment. Ling Xiao sighed softly. Rumble. Dazzling light erupted as an ancient 3-legged, two-eared cauldron appeared above Ling Xiao's head, emanating millions upon millions of rays of light. A boundless devouring power surged out, even more terrifying than the origin devouring coalescence array. The terrifying devouring power pulled General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke toward the Heaven Devourer cauldron at top speed. What? General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke's faces fell, and their eyes were filled with shock. Rumble! At that moment, Ling Xiao made his move. He threw a punch across the sky, and a terrifying dragon's might permeated the air. The dragon's roar shook the sky. His 5 fingers were like divine pillars that supported the sky, instantly turning into 5 7-colored divine dragons that pounced toward the 2 great generals. Myriad Dragons Godslayer Art. Every 7-colored divine dragon was as powerful as a titled supreme martial artist. They were extremely terrifying. Under Ling Xiao's punch, the sword radiance and saber aura all over the sky exploded instantly. Heaven and earth shook, and the void shook. Even the devouring energy coalescence formation could not withstand it and was about to collapse. This was the peak of Ling Xiao's power, and it was more than 10 times as strong as the previous one. The ancient sword in General Heaven Duke's hand and the black saber in General Earth Duke's hand actually exploded at the same time. 5 rainbow-colored divine dragons that contained unparalleled power directly pierced through the chests of the 2 titled supreme martial artists. Rumble! Gaping holes appeared in their chests, and they felt like they might explode at any moment. Eyes filled with terror, they realized that they couldn't fight back against the devouring power of the Heaven Devourer cauldron, and were sucked in. Terrifying devouring power erupted, and General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke's flesh and blood exploded. Even their nascent divinities seemed to be on the verge of dispersing. Both of them felt like their souls were about to leave their bodies as they sensed a deadly crisis looming over them. "We can talk this out, Ling Xiao," General Heaven Duke shouted, his voice filled with anxiety. "Let us go, and we promise not to cause any more trouble for you." "Immature. If I ended up in your hands, would you really let me go? What makes me curious is, are you from the Kingdom of 9 Serenities, or are you from some other kingdom? Is it really worth it to expose yourself just to kill me?" Ling Xiao chuckled coldly. "How did you know?" General Heaven Duke and General Earth Duke said, their faces flickering. Never could they have guessed that Ling Xiao would reveal their identities so quickly. They really did want to take advantage of this opportunity to kill Ling Xiao. After all, their master had personally given the order to kill him. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.